Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our November board meeting. We're going to go ahead and get started and call this meeting to order at 6:30. And Miss Carrie, would you like to lead us in the flag salute tonight?
Absolutely, I have two students.
Perfect.
And first, we have them introduce themselves to you guys. So, can you tell everybody what your name is? Alan, and what grade are you in, McKinley? You are a kindergartner, aren't you? And what is your favorite thing about school? Your friends. Oh, and you don't like it when they say 6, 7? That's not, that is your favorite thing, or that's not your favorite thing? Not your favorite thing. I would say that most kindergartners, that's not their favorite thing. And then
I'm Jace Letford and I'm in 5th grade and I like science.
nice. We're gonna face the slide. And then we'll have our hands over our heart. You put your right hand over your, no. Are you ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You guys did excellent. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, we have our entire board here tonight, Miss Tammy. So let's move to 2.0, agenda additions, deletions, revisions, and agenda approval.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to have one addition to tonight's meeting. We'd like to provide an update on the district's food support program, and we do that as item 6.7 under the superintendent's update.
Okay. Thank you. So we have an addition to the agenda tonight. Do we have anything else?
Chair, under the finance update, can we have a little bit of an outlook report on what's going on with this alleged cut to the funding that we're hearing about? What do we know? What don't we know? What's true, what's not?
Bill 5.4, or just part of the finance report?
Support.
Okay. Do we have anything else? Okay, so we have two additions. Do we have a motion?
I'm sure I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to add 6.7 food support program, and then also add to the finance report. And we have a second. We have further discussion. Okay, let's vote. Scott,
Yes.
Kelsey,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
and yes as well. Thank you. The approval of the consent agenda.
3.0 recognition.
Oh, sorry, I did skip right over that. Sorry, 3.0.
Lined up some good recognition, so make sure we get them. So I'll start off by inviting Bree Van Rokel to come to the front, as well as Miss Brenda Bogac.
So last month, I got to talk to you guys with Anna about supporting our students and families navigating poverty. And I want to take a moment to publicly recognize Brenda, and she's one of our fan advocates, Vanessa Nolan as well. They do such a tremendous job serving our students. This year already, they've served almost 300 students combined. So the work that they do is just tremendous. And then I also wanted to, Brittany Haddon couldn't be here, but her work with McKinney-Vento as well. She's created some amazing systems to help identify students and then working with those families. And my favorite tagline that Brenda and Vanessa have is that it's always more than a backpack. It's always more than just a backpack of kidneys, and that's what they approach every problem with. When we were faced with the food problem and we're like, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna solve this? One of the first phone calls was like, let's get the experts in the room. So Brenda and Vanessa and Brittany all came together and had such insightful ideas and just this huge heart for serving our students that I appreciate and the district appreciates so greatly. So thank you, Brenda. Appreciate you. Joel, my opportunity. Taking pictures is my job. Perfect.
And for those that don't know about our fan program, fan stands for Family Access Network, and any student in our district, if they need a backpack, if they need snacks, if they need food, if they need school supplies, Brenda and Vanessa are the point people. Teachers, families can just refer the student to them and they make sure all the students' needs are met. So we're so grateful for them and what they do for our schools. So next up, we're gonna recognize a couple community members. So I'm gonna invite Jake Gonzalez and both Bruce and Jennifer Smith to come stand right up over here. And please.
No, I was a friend of mine, kind of came up with this idea. And I jumped on board to nominate them to we have a great community here, especially on the wrestling side of things. And they volunteered, not just with wrestling, but a lot of different sports. But from the wrestling aspect, I mean, they help out with our huge fundraiser, let us use the barbecue and help us to meet. And no, I mean, it might not seem like a big thing, but I truly do appreciate it. And yeah, so they volunteer time to time, and yeah, it's just good to be recognized, and I appreciate it, the program appreciates it. And yeah, wouldn't be what it was without that volunteering community, you guys do so. Thank you guys, I appreciate it.
All right, we get a picture. I told you to get a picture.
Am I in there? Okay. Beautiful.
Any questions for the Smiths?
Listen, I just know they have been doing this a long time for the baseball, volleyball, wrestling. Ever since I don't, dozens of years now.
I mean, I've been here 15 years, so it's gotta be, you know,
Yeah.
25, well, I mean,
It's a long time,
long time, so.
and they're always willing to step up, so it's much appreciated.
We're just there to help you, Kevin.
I'm just the taster.
Well, and I think the cool thing, you guys had a son who graduated.
Yep.
Yeah.
Years ago.
Yeah.
So their son graduated 8 years ago and they're still
Still-
volunteering, still giving back to the district, which is just so cool. And we need people like the Smiths that keep things going. So
Appreciate
can't thank them enough.
Yep.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
appreciate it. All right, this next one I am also very excited about, McKenna Fuentes, if you could actually come and take a seat, because I'm feeling the board's gonna have some questions for you. While she's taking a seat to give it an update, I think I was at the high school mid last week. And I was with one of the counselors and the counselor got a text, and said, oh my goodness, our students just won OASC president-elect. And the natural question is, well, what does that mean? So the OASC is the Oregon Association of Student Councils. And what McKenna was able to do was she ran to be the president. And this is the president of all the Oregon student councils. So she can tell you more about what that means, but she'll be coordinating events, learning about how things like our school board, working about how government leadership works, and really just being an ambassador for Crook County across the state. And we couldn't be more proud. So, and I saw this one picture today. And I think this is winning one. And what really caught my eye was, I think is that a giant gavel?
Yes, it actually is. It is a giant gavel.
So Jen's is looking pretty weak right now. So, would you tell a little bit about what this means, what you're gonna do, and why you decided to run?
Absolutely. As he was saying, OASC stands for Oregon Association of Student Councils. And it's like a yearly trip that our leadership does in the fall. And the first time I went, I was really just inspired, and I've just been in leadership since 8th grade in Mr. Schinkel's leadership class. And I decided last year that I wanted to run to be on the board for the Central Oregon representative. And then I didn't get the position, and then I was offered like a month later by the board director that there was another position open as an at-large, which is kind of like the vice president. So last year I did a lot of board meetings like this, and I really wanted to take it to the next level. I felt really inspired by the organization because it changed me a lot. And I decided to run for president. It was nerve-wracking, but I genuinely just feel like it is a good step to take, and I just want to be able to serve Oregon as a whole.
That
So
is awesome.
we couldn't be more proud of McKenna. I also want to acknowledge the Kirk County High School staff for putting our students in the position to run and inspire and encourage, because behind every great kid, is a great coach helping along. And so, I mean, kudos to McKenna for having the courage and, the knowledge to apply, and then also to our staff for putting in the positions to have it be successful.
Absolutely.
What questions does the board have for McKenna?
I would like to know, what's the process look like? Like, so you put your name in, do you have to do a speech? Do you have to do?
Yeah, so it just depends on what you're running for. If you're running for presidential, then you do have to do a speech, but it is a pretty long campaign. So you have to answer 5 questions. 2 of them are represented to the state and all the leaderships, and then 2 of them or 3 of them are only for the adult board. And then you have to create a 5-minute video. It's really open-ended. It can be as creative as you want, as not creative as you want. You just have to answer those 5 questions as well. I ended up getting to the top 3 candidates, so I had to write a speech, 4.5-minute long speech in front of 997 students and advisors from all around Oregon, a bunch of different student leaders. And yeah, and then after the speech, they have for the rest of the day to vote, and then voting closed on the 3rd, I believe, for that 11:59 p.m. And then I found out the next Monday morning at 8:30 a.m.
And where was it held out? Where did you travel?
Seaside, Oregon. Every conference they do at the convention center in Seaside, and then summer camp is at Western Oregon University, and then our most recent regional roundup was in Caldera, I believe.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
What was your speech about?
I mainly talked about like where I came from for like the first part of it, kind of giving them insight about that. And then I talked about how long I've been in leadership, why I decided to do it, why it's truly inspired me. And then I went on to talk about like my goals if I was elected as president. And then I talked about my experience from the past year. And then I told them like what my motivation was if I did become president.
And do you serve for 1 year?
Yes, I served for 1 elected term. So from this fall, from when I was elected to next fall conference, I pass it on, which is what's happening in that photo.
That's awesome.
McKenna, I was at the Oregon School Boards Association meeting over this weekend. And I went to a panel on student voice and had a lot of student leaders like yourself. And one of the things they said that stuck with me was student council should be more open about planning parties.
Yes.
And they talked about raising student voice and student representation, and that's something we haven't had really well here. And I would really extend to you and to all your peers the opportunity to come to this board anytime you have a matter you want to talk about. If you see something on our agenda and you want to have a place on the agenda to talk about it, the superintendent will get you on, or I will, in the agenda section. But, we need to hear from you. We want to hear from you. You have an important voice, and what we're deciding for you. We should have you here to help us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We actually just started a new committee in leadership after this elected process, which is our student voice committee. And we actually have Miss Sophie Fisher here from our leadership class writing down notes, and she's gonna jot it all down on her computer, and we're gonna talk about it Wednesday morning in class.
Very nice.
You should ask us to come to your meeting. We'll talk to you about some issues.
About yourself, Joe.
I know.
Awesome. Any other questions for McKenna?
I'm so proud.
Thank you.
Have we ever had?
To my understanding, this is the first time we've ever had a president of the OASC coming from Kirk County. So really, really big. That's a picture.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
I'm not gonna do that.
I was gonna say, I want her as excited as that.
It's not as cool.
You can have my gavel. You can.
That. Awesome. Let's give her a round of applause. All right, and that's all our recognitions.
That's awesome. Party over. I know. Okay, 4.0, approval of consent agenda. Do we have?
Madam Chairman, I move to approve the consent agenda. Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve and a second on the approval of the consent agenda. Do we have any discussion? Okay, let's vote. Kevin,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Kelsey,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
And yes as well. Thank you. All right, 5.0 finance reports. Miss Anna.
I think I'll start with the state budget outlook. I actually attended a Zoom today in the car on my way back from Salem, with ODE talking about, some budget reductions. So I have not had time really to digest the numbers. But what's being talked about is, state revenue decreases and therefore state revenue budget reductions potentially. What would happen is those budget reductions would happen at the legislature level in the spring. It's not something that ODE just decides to do themselves and, you know, decides what to cut, et cetera. If they make recommendations and all the state agencies are being asked to do the same thing. And so for us, what that means is it could impact our state school fund, our SIA fund, and our high school success fund. There was originally talk about making cuts in the current budget year. But I believe what I heard today was that ODE is recommending that all cuts would be recommended to happen in the second budget year of the biennium, so next year. Which on one hand, it makes next year's cuts bigger. But at the same time, it makes it to where we can plan a little bit better rather than getting 75 to 80% through the school year, having spent what our current allocations are and then finding out that they were less. So that just does give us a better chance to plan ahead. But they wanted us to make sure that we clarify, nothing is being implemented at this time. It's just recommendations if the budget cuts are necessary. There's still a revenue forecast that's gonna be supposed to be coming out next week that could have an impact, good or bad, on the outlook. But really, we're all kind of in a holding pattern until the legislature makes decisions about it.
We wanted to just give a sense of the proportional scope, the ODE, the legislature asked the ODE prepare a 2.5% cut options and what that would look like, and then a 5% cut options, so.
2.5.
But I think if I'm not wrong, based on what I heard this weekend, we're looking at a continuous downward trajectory in funding through probably 29-30 in public schools. With some prudence as we prepare future budgets and think about our planning, it's probably gonna be in order. And the big thing would be whether PERS recovers itself or not, because its performance was absolutely abysmal. And when everybody else made 20% of their portfolio, it made about 2%. So it's a big problem. It's not over yet, even this spring.
Yeah, we'll have to be very careful.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on to the finance report for the current year. So in the packet, of course, you have your regular finance report, and there's one thing that I wanted to point out that actually has to do with last year. If you remember, well, some of you may remember, we were concerned last year that the nutrition services fund may end up in the negative, and it actually ended up in the positive. Denny Baldry and Leland Bliss did a lot of things to make that happen. And so I just wanted to make sure that I came back with that information. Our financial report for last year is audited and is basically ready. It's just that we're waiting for, because of the federal government shutdown, there are auditing standards that they release. And because they're shut down, they haven't released those standards. So our auditors they don't know if there's changes to the audit standards. So basically, we're just sitting there waiting with this financial report that's completely done. But we have to wait until they're able to finalize those reports. But nothing should change on our financials. And like I said, our nutrition services fund ended up in the positive.
That's excellent.
And then as far as this year goes, if you want to look at page 3, this is our general fund, actual and projected. Property tax information always comes out in October, so that is now updated. As far as a projection for how much I expect us to collect, it's always a guess, right? Because you never can't predict if people are gonna pay their property taxes on time and, you know, all those things, but at least you can kind of look at what was assessed and what's our historical collection rate, and so that's where I've got this property tax number. And it's 1% over budget as my projection right now, which, I had actually budgeted a 6% increase above the prior year's budget, so it's at about 7% increase. Then I wanted to show you, there's a new line number 6, and I wanted to separate this out. I've told you a few times about this, and now it's actually here, this reimbursement for state school fund that was improperly reduced for our federal forest fee revenue. Once ODE discovered that the rules had changed and they were not supposed to reduce our state school fund revenue anymore, they stopped doing that. And then they went back for 3 years and were able to figure out a way to make the districts whole that didn't get the money they should have without taking the money away from the school districts. Because they would have had to rebalance the school fund, that would have taken money away from some school districts. So they did that, and they've given us the money right about the time they told us they would, October of 2025. And I put it here because it's a windfall. And this is an opinion. If you're smart with money, you take your windfalls and you do something important with them. You pay down debt, or you plan ahead for some future problem, etc. We don't really have any debt that we can pay down. We have debt, but we can't pay it down. We've already paid down all of the other debt that was available to be paid down over the past 10 or so years. So you see this here, and then what I've done is on line 18, I have made an assumption in this projection that we will transfer this out of the general fund into somewhere. That I don't know yet. It's gonna be a discussion that we'll have, but I just wanted to show, I didn't want this to look like it was extra money in the general fund if we're gonna do something with it and take it out of the general fund. That make sense?
So is this is the 1-year payment, not the 3-year payments, right?
This is 3 years
This is
worth
the 3-year.
from 2018 through 2020. And, it's a one-time payment, like we got it all, and it's never gonna happen again.
So why are we only looking at that 3-year window? We've been
Because,
getting forest payments since 2004.
yes, good question. That's when the rules changed, was in
Okay.
2018. It used to be apparently that federal forest fees were supposed to be carved out of the state school fund. Then the federal government made some change in their rules that changed that. So 2018, 2019 school year was the first year that was different. So that's why they went back.
But then they started doing it right after 2020. Is that why we're stopping there?
Yes, as soon as they discovered it, they were able to correct it for the 2020, 2021 school year and forward. Okay, line 10. This is transfers in from the PERS reserve. We've never had to budget before to transfer in from a reserve in order to balance our general fund. This is the first year. When I say never, I mean in my life, in my term here, we haven't had to do that. And when we did it, we were hoping we wouldn't have to, because we'd rather keep that money in the PERS reserve to give us some options to potentially bring our PERS rates down later. So right now, what I've done is basically plugged in a number so that if we don't have to pull the full 530, we won't. And right now you can see in my estimate to year end column, I only have 50,289 there. So if we're able to pull that off and not have to transfer the whole thing, we're gonna be doing a lot better than what we had hoped. So we'll see. Everything changes day by day, but I just wanted you to see that. And then what we end up down at the bottom in line 24 is a $2 million ending fund balance to roll forward to next year, which is an appropriate number for us to roll forward. So this makes a weird thing. Line 20, operating surplus deficit, is exactly equal to budget. And that's because I plugged a number in to make us exactly with a $2 million roll forward. That makes sense? Normally you wouldn't see something be exactly equal to budget like that. It's not really that I'm magic or have a crystal ball.
right.
It's making it so that we only transfer in exactly what we need. Okay, that's it. That's all I have. Anybody have any questions? Oh, one other thing, on the statistics page, on page 9. Last month, I didn't have the property tax information yet. So down at the bottom of the page, there's a box that says property taxes imposed, and it shows 3 years of history and then the current year. And this is for our general fund or our general obligation debt. And when we clear back in 2013, when they passed that bond, they had said, we don't want to be more than $1.03. And you never know exactly what it's going to be because you can't predict future assessed values, but we haven't even reached, I think maybe we got close to $1.03 once, but we've been below that this whole time. And we're now at 63 cents. So that's all I have on the financial.
For the windfall. You have any recommendations to get the biggest bang for the buck? I know there's stuff about waiting for the PERS buy down, that kind of stuff. But is there anything else that you have, or is that something you'd have to think about and come back with?
I have been thinking about it. I would like to present something to you that's clean and ready.
Okay.
Like 2 weeks from today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Present some good options.
I think there's a moment of education potentially around that 63 versus $1.03. So, you know, we set that $1.03 there because that's what the voters had actually approved and actually had approved when we built the Barnes Butte School. And so we didn't want to go over that. But every year, your number comes down because your property value grows and you spread your amount you owe over more property. So it's always coming down. Ben Lapine has capitalized on that in a way we haven't, and we might want to think about this going forward. They have their standard amount, which they have to go out and get renewed every 5 years, I think it is. And they, every time, they just let that amount drop. Because of their growth rate drops a lot faster than ours does. And then they periodically do a top off bond and bring it back up. So they go out over and over trying to say your taxes are going to stay the same. There's no increase in your taxes, your tax rate, as long as you renew this. And they've got a really sophisticated system for doing that. It's not a strategy. We here wait until a building falls apart and then we go out to voters to build a new one. That might not be working. So think about maybe a different way to do it as we go forward that might be more palatable to voters. The way we do it isn't the only way to do it.
So every 5 years, they,
You always have to have that
Ish.
base rate renewed.
okay,
But your goal is to never have to raise people's taxes.
Right.
Because you're just filling in from behind. Or at least not raise their tax rate.
right. Yes.
Okay, 5.2 is budget committee openings. There are 2 budget committee positions that expired in June, just through expiration, normal term expiration. They were position 6 and position 9. And so in order to start the process for filling those, we just need the board to declare that there are openings for the budget committee.
Madam Chairman, I move to declare budget committee position 6 and budget committee position 9 as open.
What's that?
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table to move and declare budget committee position 6 and 9 as open. Do we have further discussion? Okay, let's vote. Scott,
Yes.
Kelsey,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
and yes as well. Thank you for that.
5.3 is the budget calendar adoption. This is something we do every year. And I presented a draft budget preparation calendar for your consideration. That is very similar as past years and aligns with board goals timeline. And this one aims for committee approval in May and board adoption in June. This just needs board approval in order to adopt the
But,
I move to adopt the budget calendar for budget year 2026-2027 as presented and amended.
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt the budget calendar for budget year 2026-27 as presented. We have further discussion? Okay, let's vote. Kevin?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Kelsey?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
And yes as well. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Anna. Okay, 6.0 superintendent update.
Yeah, we're gonna start off by inviting Mr. Hayes as well as some CCMS students to the table.
More students. Hi, girls. Welcome.
We'll hear from you. Awesome. Well, I'm excited. I've got 3 of our 8th grade leadership students, so it was cool to hear McKenna's progress that she's made since being 8th grade leadership, and so I'm excited to have three gals here: Kaylee Brockway, Ava Woods, and Hadley McLean. I chose them because they've been involved in leadership this entire year. They've been doing the morning announcements and different pieces that relate to the CC way. All right, so the girls have prepared a few things. The idea was stand up, speak out, be the difference, and some of the pieces that they've talked about with the CC way. I have some kind of prompts for the girls to kind of give you guys as much information as they can, and then we can kind of fill in with questions and some of that information along the way. So, who wants to talk about what the CC way is?
I would say the CC way is the new culture of our school. It allows us to use kindness, resilience, responsibility, and how to stick up for others. It not only makes us better students, but better community members.
And then I think Ava was going to talk a little bit about student recognition.
For student recognition, we used to have what they were called kudos. They're now called the CC Way cards. And how you can get them is by working hard, being helpful, kind, respectful to all your teachers and stuff. And then we do drawings on Fridays for rewards. And then the kids can come down and come get like some prizes we have in the office. We also have student of the month, and the people that won student of the month understands what it means to be the difference. And you can also, how we get the student of the month is through the teachers. They are keeping a lookout of all their great kids, and they usually ask like a month. We send out like a form, I think, and the teachers give us a person and we give them their award. They sometimes get like gift bags, I think. And yeah.
All right. A big project that the leadership was doing was making that kindness posters. So Hadley's going to talk a little bit about that.
A way we spread kindness in our school is in our leadership class, we made posters to hang up around the school to spread kindness and prevent bullying. For some of our like examples of our posters were be an upstander, not a bystander, and stand up, speak out, be the difference.
I like that.
So girls, I know you kind of tag team this piece, but what's the CC way doing to impact school culture as a whole?
It's kind of spreading what we want to be and like what we want or how we want our schools to be looked at. Like it's
Anything else, girls? That was kind of their work on how we want to be looked at, and it referenced a piece of like when we hear from substitutes or when we have those community events and when they say how awesome the kids were and how respectful. That's kind of how it when they said that, what I thought about when I hear some of that feedback when we do those events, the career day or some of those pieces that bring people into the building. Right. Okay, next steps. Is Jay coming up or is that just me? Just me. All right, so next steps, is. That we started off, but next steps is CC Way is such a big push, a big piece of what we're doing because it encompasses so many pieces of school culture. So you guys heard a little bit about how it directly affects students. Then we also have the pieces on like our bullying forms, anti-bullying forms, tracking student conflicts and some of those pieces. So some students don't know that we're doing those pieces kind of behind the scenes, working with students. And so there's pieces like that. And then like the PBIS initiatives is kind of what the girls were talking about, how we get kids involved, how we stand up, be the difference. And then student recognition is a big one. Had a great turnout, did a little post on student recognition, had a lot of people really excited. Also doing pieces with that student recognition on growth, not always just the super high achievers, but students that are making awesome gains and making a change for the positive. And so that's like in terms of what we want with the CC Way is always getting better and giving some attention and some recognition to some of those kids who are making those big changes as well. And then also with part of that is staff culture. I know just bringing the staff along with the students and getting them involved in some of this change and teaching, preaching, kind of the piece of how we want that people to stand up, be the difference. It's a little bit different in terms of kind of what we've talked about in the past, but then getting kids to stand up for each other and support each other, and that goes with the staff as well.
Hey, Marcus, just to add on that a little bit, there's a lot of research that, you know, to really prevent bullying in schools, it's more about creating the culture of bystanders, not letting it happen. So that's a huge piece of the CC Way is equipping our bystanders so that they have the skills to intervene and report as necessary. So it's a real research-based approach to stop bullying.
Well, it's funny because when I was talking about the posters and Hadley brought up like the one she sees wherever, I don't know where in school, she's like, the one I always see is that don't be a bystander, be an upstander. So making sure that standing up and helping our classmates, our peers, helping them out.
What are any questions for the
Can I
students?
jump on real quick?
Yeah, please.
See?
Now he wants to jump.
I thought it was gonna be,
You have to choose, Bill.
No, I just wanted to,
His idea.
sorry,
Yeah.
I just love talking to you guys. No, I just wanted to, I wanted to just give Marcus a shout out too, because one thing we did do is we kind of aligned our processes for like handling an incident. And so we have like an online way that students can report incidents to the website. And then it's like really spelled out exactly what we do. So the continuity now between the middle school and high school has been good. So I mean, we haven't stopped bullying. I mean, kids are still mean to each other all the time. But what we have done is we've come up with a more normalized process. And the communication loops are a lot better. And then the other thing is and credit Joe Vieira actually, in the past, it's been like, hey, I wanna do a no contact agreement and say, I want this kid to never talk to me again. And we really kind of gone away from that. And I don't like to use this word too much, but we kind of gone to kind of a restorative practice where we're getting kids together and sitting down and trying to solve the problems before it before it becomes something bigger. And that has made a huge difference where we're sitting down and talking to the kids. And a lot of the things that like happen that would be considered bullying can kind of get squashed before it gets worse. So
Like a mediation type.
like a mediation, yeah.
Yeah.
And then like we sign it and say like, hey, we want to solve this problem before it gets bigger.
Right.
And so we've done that several times and Kelly Beebe does a great job with that. But yeah, I think that took a lot of work to kind of get aligned, and now the middle and high are aligned, and it seems to be working a lot better. It's been a lot better at the high school level. So
Well, I think once you establish it in middle school, because middle school is tough.
Yeah.
It is very tough. And then you're gonna bring it, so, I mean, if they get right into middle school and they're at sixth grade, oh, this is the incident I had, and we're just gonna move forward. We're not gonna, be bullies. We're gonna have people that are gonna stand up and not allow me to do it.
Yeah.
Get to the high school and they're like, well, I didn't work in middle school, so it's not gonna work here, so hopefully that'll,
we want to get rid of that
exactly.
stigma.
just to highlight, this was, a credit to the board. This is board goal 3.5, launch on a line district-wide K-5 and 6-12 anti-bullying campaign. So it's so cool from the district office to see the board sets a goal. We work with the leaders, they work with their students. So you see this direct through line from the board goals down to the actual practice with students. So that's something that's really encouraging to see.
Have you noticed a difference with your peers? Like, I mean, are your peers on board with this, or do you still have some resistance? I mean, you're always gonna have some, right? But for the majority of it, I mean, have you? What is your culture like? Most of them?
Just more specifically, do you guys have any personal experiences with it getting better or not working, either way?
No right or wrong answers.
Well, and I know, like, with those next steps, give you guys some time to think. We're like, next steps, like I said, there's a lot of pieces to this that we're kind of unfolding and then growing. So I know, like, the leadership students are gonna be doing some like videos and lessons on what this looks like. I know they've done some in the past. And so just building on those pieces that with student leaders, I think is a huge piece to see what they can do and what they can model. So girls, have you thought of anything?
In all fairness, did you guys just start this year? The whole CC wave this year?
Yeah.
So you're only basically 2 months into this, right? Yeah, so I think they've made huge strides. Absolutely. Congratulations.
How big is the group that's working on this? How many students involved?
In 27.
How many of those are boys?
A lot.
Because we've got all 3 girls, haven't I?
Yeah, and why, I mean, it just happened so that I selected these 3 because they were doing the morning announcements which they didn't mention that. They were doing like anti-bullying phrases and slogans in those announcements. And so that's when Bree asked me to kind of get some students involved, it was an easy pick for these 3 who are doing those morning announcements and being a little bit more heard and visible in that process.
So I want to ask these 3,
Mhm.
are the boys engaged?
Yes. Does the-
They're into it, they also want this to stop?
Yeah, because like the group that got like picked for leadership is all like pretty like, they're all pretty good and want them to be like stopped.
I wonder, because I visited schools a couple weeks ago and I got an earful about boys at the middle school from girls. So, not sure what I think.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the board?
I just want to say like, just so much respect for this work and I like really love it and thank you guys for doing it and I know it's working because I hear in my household all the time, he's bullying me and sometimes we hear some, quasi restorative practices, but it's filtering through and I just really love just everything about the students and alignment and so thank you guys.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go off on a recognition tangent too, because I've been hearing stuff about what we've been doing in the schools too, specifically with students helping students.
Yeah.
Like tutoring, getting them across schools, whether it's high school students reading to elementary, middle schoolers helping middle schoolers. I've heard very good things about it. So kudos for the programs that are encouraging that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's been a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Super shout out to the girls, middle schools. Students aren't really excited about coming to speak at the board meeting, but I told them they'd do awesome and give a big shout out to the girls.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
awesome.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, we are to move to 6.2 high school pathways report.
How's it going, everybody? Whoa. I'm actually scheduled to be up here now, so.
Disappointed there's no track seat.
No tiger tracksuit. Golden Tigers are not represented.
Okay, so I think we talked about, at least we kind of did a brief introduction about what pathways were last year. I think it was back in August. Ann and I came and talked a little bit. And I just want to give a brief history about it. So this is when we first started doing the Pathways Initiative. These are kind of some of the things, this is what it was about. It was just to establish some various avenues for students to choose in terms of coursework and what certifications they could get and dual credit. It provided a touch point with every student. So it was a great way to make sure that we're at least talking to every student about what they wanted, what they may be interested in pursuing. So counselors, it was great for counselors in some ways, to get together with all those students and talk with them about the different offerings we had. And then one of the things that I thought was the most applicable was once kids kind of established a pathway, then there was like information. So if there was a professional coming in or some sort of trades fair or college trip, we could sort those students by what they selected, and then we can make sure and prioritize those students for those opportunities. The current options we have, those are the current options we have. You guys know most of them. We've talked about these before, but those are the CTE programs of study, and then we added a military one with our ROTC program, a performing arts one, which just kind of lays out, here's all the performing arts classes that one could take. And then also we have the core transfer map, which is the thing we partnered with COCC for, which was 30 college credits kind of packaged up and on there through COCC that you can move your transcript over. And then AAOT is the Associates of Arts. And we had a few students do that. And we're working on AST too, so you know. But that's not out in the public yet. But one of the things we noticed though when we were doing this is like, it's like, hey, are you doing Pathways? It was almost like a separate entity. It was almost like, well, what is Pathways? It's like, it's not a separate thing from dual credit or CTE, or it's kind of like, really what it is, it's like to provide information for students. But one thing we noticed, it felt a little bit forced. And so counselors had some feedback on how to kind of make it a little bit more relevant for students. And Sean's going to talk a little bit about that, but it felt like that there was a lot of separate methods for us to get students the information they needed about the things we offer at school. And the other thing was, you know, Sean's been to different schools, so he's seen things done differently. And so we wanted to kind of just solicit a little bit more input from our counselors on how we could roll this out in a more meaningful way. It was a little bit more relevant, a little bit more sequential. So Sean's going to talk a little bit about that. So this is how we applied Pathways. I think we already talked about that a little bit though. So this is kind of how the new look Pathways will go.
Yeah, so we've worked as a counseling department this year to connect with families in different ways. We've had multiple parent nights for seniors. Last week we had OSAC, or a scholarship parent night. About 30 families showed up to that night. We've had Junior Jumpstart, another 30 families showed up for that. To increase numbers at conferences, we had parent nights during conferences where we talked about Pathways for freshman session and then a sophomore junior session. And what I realized during that is some parent nights work great for some families, but when I put the video out on Facebook about parent nights, I had 1,100 views. I had about 30 families at the parent night. So we're working on coming up with some plans with everything else going on in the counseling department to have small snippets of information that we put, snapshots of information we put out on social media, where it's like 30-second videos. It's like, hey, this is coming up. This is something to look out for. If you have questions, please call us. That kind of thing, where we get a lot of traction on social media, but we're not getting any we're getting some traction, and it's great for those families that do show up, but the message needs to get out to all our families. And so we're trying to find different ways to do that. And so with that, we're doing a parent survey. That parent survey, we have a new Pathways that just went live today. I've been working with Tanya Howard with IT to create a Pathways website. If you go to the high school website, right on the landing page, there's a link to Pathways website on there. There's a parent survey. We're going to be sending more information about that to get more input from parents about what's going to work for them and what questions they actually have about their kids' future. So we could target some of those questions both individually by responding to those parents, but also as a group. Like, we get some data around what are the questions that parents are consistently asking out of all the things that we can do as counselors. Like, what do we need to target for families and kids? So we're doing quite a bit of stuff to try to reach out to families in that way. And Aspire. So we have a great Aspire coordinator in the library. Her name's Sarai Swenson. Ruby Ruiz, our Welcome Center. I was gonna say an old district's name for the same position. You know, they're working great with our families to reach out individually, provide help, provide translation services to help our students. And families really know the information they need about pathways, but also about once you get through high school and have those pathways, how do you get connected to a college or trade school, or how do you get financial aid to pay for all that? So they're doing great work with families in that regard. And Sarai and Brittany both are working to meet with every senior, talk about their future, talk about scholarships, talk about trade school, what's their plan for their future, all that kind of stuff for seniors. For sophomores coming up on November 20th, we're doing the ASVAB. That's an ASVAB that's career related. ASVAB, it's not going to be information that is going to be shared with any military branches of the military or anything, but it still gives us that information about where's the kid's skills and where do those skills fit that kid's interests. And what kind of things can the kid, it's a kind of interest profiler where the kid can kind of see like, hey, based on my skill level, based on my interests, here's what some careers might be. After we have that information from the sophomores, then we're going to meet as counselors with sophomores to say, hey, this is what your ASVAB says. This is what it said. Like, does that ring a bell? Does that seem real to you? Is that fit? And if so, here's some pathways at Kirk County that we can work with you to kind of explore. So we're really excited about that. That's coming out this next couple of months. We'll be working on that for sophomores. And then juniors, as juniors go through the career class, we're getting in front of juniors and talking to juniors about the pathway options as well as college applications, college scholarships, all that kind of stuff, trade schools, all the options they have after high school. And with those connections with students, we're having them this year. Last year for pathways, we had them fill out a paper version, an analog version of 4 questions. And this year there's 6 sections. So I think there's about 10 questions. I created a survey that kids fill out where they have an opportunity to say, these are things I want to learn more about, or these are pathways I'm interested in. Last year as counselors, we're like, hey, you have to choose a pathway. And they're like, why? Because I was told you have to choose a pathway. So choose one, and like, they're like, I'm like, choose 2. I don't care. Just write something down. Right. And this year we're like, hey, what are 3 what's maybe you're interested in 3 different pathways. That's fine. Like, let's look, what are you interested in? And then I'm asking them specific questions about what careers are you actually thinking about? Like, are you lawyer, doctor, nurse, radiology, radiology tech, construction worker, like, and then when we have internships or we have different things that come across Ryan Cochran's desk or the counseling center or Sarai Swenson in the Welcome Center, we could just pull a list of, hey, all these kids said they want to be electricians. We're going to electrician apprenticeship school here in Prineville. Let's take all those kids with us. And so we could pull straight from the list of kids and say, this is what I want to be, when I grow up, for lack of a better phrase. But and we could pull that list and say, hey, these are the kids we need to target first. And so we're doing a lot of work when it comes to that. So yeah. But also what I want to do, as we talked about this as a counseling department, we have kids pick pathways, and then as a school system, we have classes that we offer. And sometimes those pathways, we have a kid pick a pathway, but then based on all the other academic needs they have, their schedule doesn't necessarily match up with what the pathway they choose. Because they want to take all the construction classes, but they also want to take pre-calc, and it's both offered second period. And so some of what I kind of saw as we were working through this is that, as kind of with my scheduling experience, is freshmen are allowed to take every single class we offer. Like we lay it out. And so what happens, there's a couple of problems that happen with that. One is we have to figure out how to fit all the electives with freshman, sophomore, and junior, senior classes all at the same time. So all the core classes for freshmen, sophomore, and juniors, and the elective classes, we have to make sure they all fit for every single student. And that's not possible. That's not a task that any AI system or the best schedule in the world is going to be able to fit that. And so I started kind of brainstorming what are things we can do. And so I started looking at other schools and other districts and what they do with their CTE pathways. And I came up with this idea that I think I either stole from, I think I stole it from Ben Caldera, I believe, but the Explore, Prepare, Demonstrate. And so Explore freshman year classes, like those intro level classes, intro to business, intro to agriculture, intro to construction 1, welding 1, those classes that are those intro level classes. And we're going to go to the next slide in a minute. And then those would be freshman classes. And then sophomore, junior level classes, we prepare. So if they want to be a construction worker, awesome. We're going to be intro to construction your freshman year. Sophomore and junior year, your job is to prepare. You're preparing for the workforce. You're preparing for what's next. And so you're going to be taking classes that are more advanced. that might not have freshmen in them. They're gonna, like, you have to be through those intro classes before you can take these next step of classes. And so you're preparing for what's next. And then demonstrate by the time they're late in their junior year, their senior year, it's their opportunity to demonstrate their skills through internships, through academic, advanced academic courses where they can just kind of show off what they know and kind of build some, get some certificates, get some job level skills out of those classes. And so it would make sense as we go to the next slide. So, well, a couple slides down there. So the reason we're doing this, the reason I thought about that is rigor, relevance, and schedule clarity. So around rigor, right now, when you have a senior, rigor and relevance, right now we have, second trimester coming up. We're gonna have freshmen sitting in the same class as juniors and seniors for our CTE classes in some cases. And so for teachers to be able to keep relevance alive for those 12th graders and 11th graders, having them having to teach at an intro level pace to 9th grade skill levels doesn't allow those higher level kids or those kids that are more experienced just to kind of thrive and kind of go off and be pushed farther. And so I think what happens with that is we have start to get kids who are like, I prefer just having a free period, or hey, I'm just gonna go to work, or because it's not relevant. They're in a class with freshmen, like they took their freshman year and their sophomore year. Now they're juniors and they're still sitting in class with freshmen. And so really trying to push that relevance piece, raise the bar, raise the level of things we can expect from our kids in the classroom. But also what that does is if we streamline the schedule, we could actually get the kids in the class they ask for. And so as we have kids, we do forecasting, we have a process. And then, I had probably 100 kids out of 900 this year that I was just plugging classes in for to make sure they have a full schedule. Not classes they asked for, but just because when you give the full menu to every single kid in the school, there's no way we're going to be able to meet that need. So it's like leveling it to a point where it creates some relevance, but also makes it so it's possible to get kids into the classes they want. So all right, so current structure, this is business. I've talked to our business teacher. I'm going to use business as an example because I sat down with Ms. Kropchak and talked to her about this and said, hey, these are my ideas I'm throwing out here. Like, what do you think? And she's like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. So this is what we currently do. So as a freshman, you can take intro to business or intro to marketing, fall term, first trimester, and then the rest of your freshman year, you could take any of these other classes in business. So this could be a senior's 6th last capstone class for their business CTE program completer. But they're still sitting in the class sophomore term, or second trimester with a sophomore and freshman. And so how do we really reach that rigor level for those kids that's appropriate? And so this is a current struggle. So I started looking around to different school districts. This is what Bend does for their business, or I think Caldera does for their business, where you have to take at least one level 1 class before you advance to level 2. And if you're level 2 class, you have to take at least one level 2 class before you advance to level 3 and so forth. And so same thing, 3 credits or 6 classes, you're a program completer for CTE. They just structure it differently. And so, this is, we're running it through with our teachers right now with Ryan Cochran. And, but this is kind of a sample of what it could look like instead, where, and we could even add classes that teachers are passionate about or kids are passionate about as well, if teachers choose to. And, but level 1 would be intro to business. So freshman level business classes, you take intro to business, intro to marketing. And then as you go into, after you've had that experience in those level 2, you go into the level 2 classes where you could take macroeconomics, entrepreneurship, business, retail, small business. But then that all ends up where you're in like a higher level class in the level 3, where you're actually like demonstrating the skills you've learned through your time in Kirk County High School, where you take, level 1 classes, then you're a little bit harder level 2 classes. At the end, you're demonstrating the skills you need through certificates, through college courses, through, dual credit courses, and through other things.
Can you go back to?
Yeah.
They have personal finance in their level 3. Is that the Senate Bill 3 class that we're all looking to implement?
Probably.
It is relevant to their business management, to make it easier on our kids. Why would we not bring that in?
And we do have, and that's a class itself.
Slide.
Yeah, so
I mean,
for
it's
sure.
an easy ad. It looks
Yeah.
Easy ad. Yeah, and
Kim's
we
actually teaching a couple sections, and then Matt is teaching is
Yeah.
teaching the rest of the sections.
Yeah.
So we do have it.
Right.
and it's a requirement. Might as well put it in the
It
business.
seems like
Yeah.
win-win.
But you're right.
So
We can
Yeah.
put it in, it can count as a business class.
yeah. We just have to make sure that for it to be a completer, the business teacher has to be one teaching the class for the kids in the business pathway, but every kid has to take it. So, and we're getting dual credit, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's a dual credit class for all our seniors this year as well. So any senior or any high school doing the mandatory personal finance class has an option for college credit.
I'm just thinking
So-
of your problem about all those
For sure.
overlapping classes.
Yeah.
That's one way to fix it.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's another example of how to fix it. So, timeline, it's, you all have this in front of you, like December. We're hoping to have all our different pathways organized into that, explore, prepare, demonstrate by December, because that's when we need to go to print for the guide for next year. And so as we go to the forecasting season for next year, like we need to go through and make sure all our classes are lined up in that model. We have the graphics ready to go, so we can put it both on our Pathways website that's new, but also for the guide that we go to print with and have the PDF of on our website that talks about all our academic programs in Cook County. And so that's in December. January, we need to get the forms ready to match that. And so if we're not gonna have freshmen taking the whole, like every class we offer the school, and we're gonna limit to like those explore classes for freshmen, like we need to adjust the forecasting forms. February, we're gonna start working with the middle school counselor, I believe. I've talked to one of my colleagues down there, and one of their goals this year is to start talking about pathways with the 8th graders before they, and that wasn't even something we talked about before she told me that was a goal. I'm like, okay, perfect, I'll put it on here. So in preparation for the CTE day, for the 8th grade through 11th grade forecasting process. And so want to get that done in February, and then April, we start building a schedule, and we're hoping by April, we'll have all the data inputted so we can really start dialing through and starting to kind of see some of the problems with scheduling that's kind of been hiccups in the past. And so, Anne and I have been working and talking about scheduling in different ways. It's gonna be great. As a former counselor, she has a lot of experience with it as well. So it'll be great to kind of partner with her to figure out how to make sure once we kind of lay this out for kids that we make sure it's possible and we have them the lack of a better word, the path for them to get in the courses they chose. So awesome. A lot of information.
Back to that first slide with the names of the programs, the
Yes.
pathways. I want to challenge you. If you read, starting with agricultural science down, that all makes perfect sense. Any ordinary person would know what that meant. If you read those first two, it's like out of some teacher's college bureaucracy textbook.
We had a description form that we took
I
about.
would urge you to use your amazing creativity and come up with 2 better words than that.
Okay.
But I don't think any parent would know what core transfer math means. Oh, that's college. math.
Associate's degree.
But.
Yes.
And
For sure.
okay.
That's fair.
I mean, one of the questions like one of the board members asked was, what would be the ideal outcome? And I think the Pathways initiative kind of has 2 different things. I mean, number one, we have like a lot of different tools. As you know, Scott, you've had kids in our school for a long time, but we have a lot of different tools that we have so many people helping kids in so many different ways, whether it's our Aspire program or CTE or all the dual credits we have, and we have counselors working with them and we have admin working with them. But it's really about like not having another separate thing that we're helping kids with, like, oh, what's Pathway? It's like trying to bring all of those wonderful supports together in a way that makes sense, and then also being able to raise the awareness of what that is for parents, and like what's the best way to communicate with community? Is it parent nights? Is it social media? Is it surveys? And I think the answer is yes to all. And I think we just have to hit as many different modes of communication as possible, because different families are dealing with different things. So I think that's priority one. And then the other part is like, how can we build a schedule that actually makes sense? So we're not just like hopping from lily pad to lily pad, just picking out, well, what class do you need? It's like, there's like a sequential way to like really do this in a way that makes sense and get kids in the classes that they really need to accomplish that mission.
For sure.
As I look at this, I can't help but hear the themes that we were talking about in the late 90s with the SimCam days and the school work days and all these other things. And the common theme, the thing that I think this brings forward, that is the purpose of Pathways, or should be the purpose, is that all of our kids know what they're doing on graduation day.
For sure.
But very few of our kids know what they're doing the day after graduation day.
Right.
If this is right, and we get this right, they know what they're doing the day after graduation.
Yeah.
And that's the definition of success in this program. You've come a long way. There's a lot of good building blocks here, so.
I will say one thing that like gives me pause is like, I don't want this to be perceived as like, hey, kid, you're a freshman, you need to declare your major.
Yeah.
That's what I don't want. I want kids to still be able to explore and really like learn about.
Yeah.
I mean, 19-year-old Jake Huffman didn't know what he wanted to do, I can tell you that. And so 14-year-old Jake Huffman was afraid of the dark. So it's like, I don't expect a 15-year-old kid to like say, I want to be a civil engineer and I'm gonna take all the time. I want them to like have the awareness and have all the tools in front of them that they could pursue that, but like at the same time, I want them to be able to
Explore.
I mean, it's okay to change your mind, right?
Yeah.
But
I'm glad you went there, because I was gonna say, I love this, but I feel like it's our job to start throwing monkey wrenches.
Of course.
Your ASVAB
Mhm.
is your sophomore year,
yeah,
but you already want them committing to intros their freshman year.
well,
Possibility of multiple paths.
when you say commit, that's what I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I
I
was,
want to be really careful. It's, hey, what may you be interested in? Here's a bunch of the stuff that we do and offer at our school. So, and they might say, well, health sciences look pretty cool. Well, then they can start on that path. And a lot of these different pathways have a lot of similar classes. All the core classes are very similar, right? And so it's not impossible for them to say, well, I want to change my mind. I want to try some culinary arts or whatever.
because.
And I
think you
wanna
see
hold
the
on to that.
value With like your seniors and juniors being together.
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
cohort.
Yeah.
I definitely see that value being able to
Yeah.
spread. But what if you've got an indecisive student?
Yeah.
I was one of those as well.
Yeah.
Junior year, you say, I don't know, I wanna try this too. Are they in the intros or what's the plan for those?
I mean,
guys?
that would be probably, so the freshmen get 6 electives. And so outside of kids who are, I mean, and we have quite a few ROTC, which 3 of those electives are OTC. So they have 3 left, right? And so they could take a business, a health science, and an ag class, right? And so they have 3 of those pathways they've already taken their level 1 class for. Some kids aren't going to be band, choir, drama, or ROTC. And so they have 6 electives where they could take a sampling of every single pathway we have if they wanted to, right? And so that's where 8th grade forecasting comes into play, where kids are still given the leeway to say, hey, like, I'm going to take an intro to business class, I'm going to take foods 1, and I'm going to take intro to construction C, right? But that still sets them up for that next step the next year in 3 of those pathways. And so maybe they still haven't decided, and then so they take 3 other intro classes the next year, right? And so there's still opportunities for kids to kind of jump around. Like, I don't want to take options away from kids, because I think, I mean, to Jake's point, like, like there's a lot of kids that don't know what they want to do, but my job as a counselor is to make sure they know what all the pathways are. And like I've only surveyed about 100 students so far, because we're meeting with freshmen this week. We're meeting with sophomores after the ASVAB. Juniors we're meeting with as they do their careers class. And so it's going to be sporadic throughout the year as we get all the juniors information. But overarching, about out of 100 kids that we've surveyed so far, about 40% are saying we want to go to college. And the theme as juniors, they're saying, they're marking off as one of the options for like, hey, things I want to learn more about. They're like college entrance requirements. And like, as a counselor, I'm like, if you're a junior and you don't know that, like, I'm not doing my job. And so I need to go back. So I'm adding slides for freshmen. Like, it might only affect 40%, but I want every single kid that comes through Cook County to know what all the options are. And like, hey, this might not apply to you, or you might not think this applies to you, but there's a lot of ways to pay for college in the future. So here's how you would get into college if that's what you choose. Here's what cheer aid schools expect. Here's what getting a good ASVAB score means for your military placement. Like, as a counselor, that's our role, is to make sure that kids know what all those options are. And so the survey has really given us so far it's given us some really good data around like what kids are asking for and what they need from us as a school and as counselors. And so as I get more and more information from kids and have kind of a sample set that represents more of our school, maybe I could, share that with Joel and we can pass it your way. But
So 2 things I really like about this, that the board has been working on for a while is, one is schedule clarity that we've talked about for a while, making sure that our schedule is more conducive to students taking the classes that they want and need. So that's a big piece. And then another piece that they touched on, that we haven't talked about, that gets to your question, was, being a touch point for students every year. And I think that's big. And that's something we haven't always done, where a counselor is checking in with each kid every year and being responsive and flexible with what they want. Where if a kid does, we know we're gonna have kids that change their direction or change their interest. But that having that touch point every year, I think is a huge aspect of this. So as we transition, so grateful for Mr. Swick, Mr. Huffman for putting this together and continuing to. One of our main themes is better never stop. So like, okay, we've done great on this. What's that next level? And I appreciate them digging into that. So thank you guys.
Well, isn't it? Going back to this question about flexibility, which is an important one. Your motto is explore, prepare, and demonstrate. But isn't it true that a student wouldn't necessarily have to get to the demonstrate part? The student wanted to spend more time in exploring and preparing. If they don't take a work study, they don't take an internship, that's not essential to complete.
It's not the end of the world.
Right? There's room there to
For sure.
create that space
Mhm.
for students to be able to look at all their options if they're a slower decider.
Yeah.
And for the kid that knows what he wants to be and knew it at 14, let him rock it.
That's the
Yeah.
program completer, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
For
kids
sure.
can take whatever they want, really, but at the same time, we also want to have a clear trajectory on.
Right,
Yeah.
it's flexible direction.
Correct.
We want you to pick a direction because you need to know that this is gonna end in 4 years, or you need to be somewhere. But it's flexible because you can always shift and adjust as you pick your direction.
For sure.
One of the questions I initially had was about getting it done earlier, like I mentioned, that with sophomore,
Yeah.
then you mentioned the 8th grade, which I thought was great. Like that's, if we can start to. And that goes along with that whole school transitional thing, like the vertical alignment. If you can even expand that to
Yeah.
get something where you've got middle schoolers filling out, hey, what am I interested in? Cause I mean, the sooner you start that, the sooner they can explore on their own and come into it knowing, hey, I think I wanna look at this or maybe that. And
For sure.
I would encourage Marcus to
Yeah.
get involved in that too,
Yeah.
I guess.
For sure.
Thank you, guys.
More to come.
Anything else?
Yeah.
CIS.
So, yeah, I can speak to that, yeah. So I didn't want to jump in and like throw Marcus under the bus, but since he said he's doing it, I'll throw it out there. We do have a program called Oregon CIS, Career Information Systems, where kids are starting the process of getting logged in, having usernames and doing interest and skills profilers on there. That gives them some ideas of like, these are things that I'm skilled in and where that might lead to a career, and here's some things I'm interested in where that. And then eventually, I think like as they get coming up from middle school, but then at the high school as well, we're gonna be rolling the high school version of that out as well. So I think they use Oregon CIS Junior, and we'll use, that might be an outdated term, but we'll use Oregon CIS at the high school. So yeah, we do have more tools coming for that. It's October, so. We're trying to.
It's actually November.
It's November. What's I'm in the wrong
Time
month.
flies when you're
So.
having
So
Thanks, guys.
years don't do
Very
that.
much.
Yeah.
You'll find our children.
Yeah, hold on.
Mrs. Swick's husband, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah. In case you didn't.
He's on parent duty right now. He said it. 6.3, early graduation report. Ms. Michelle, welcome.
So we intentionally put these two back to back because there's a lot of connections with kind of reasons.
Hello.
This is James.
Hello, everyone. So I get to talk to you today about early graduates because majority of our early graduates actually come from Pioneer. We do have some that come from the high school, but the majority of them do come from Pioneer. And so this I think since the last time I presented the board, my eyesight has taken a decline, so gonna put my old lady glasses on so I can read my slides here, but so the early grad that we're doing reports back to your board goal 1.10, supporting career readiness, and so that's what we're focusing on today. And so this is Joel's slide.
I love this.
I tried to talk about it, but he really loved this picture. So why do students graduate early? And that's basically the one size fits all story here. And basically, as we know, all of our kids are incredibly different. And I think that in American schools, we have learned that we go to school from kindergarten through 12th grade, and that's the path that we take for everybody. And what I think people are starting to discover is that's really not the case for everyone. And when you start thinking about how parents decide when students enter into school. For instance, in my own family, my son, or my daughter graduated when she was 17 years old. My son's gonna be graduating when he's 19 years old. Even though they're going through the whole K-12 experience, there's a 2 years age difference there, even within my family. And even within this system of kids maybe having more skills at the end of their sophomore years than some of our graduates that are graduating, and interest and workforce and those types of things. So basically, why do students graduate early? There's a lot of factors. Work and career opportunities is something that we see at Pioneer often because a lot of our students are working to help support their families. We have, I think specifically in our community, a lot of students who have grown up working with their families, whether that be in a family trade or on their ranch or on their farm. And they would rather be working than going to school. That again ties to family responsibilities, the social aspects of school. Some students love school, they love sports, they love activities, and other kids are like, I just want to be done. I've been doing this for enough years. I want to be out of here. Some of them are wanting to start early on college. They're like ready for that next step. And parents too. I just want my kid to be done. Some of these families have been going through the attendance process. I think that if you tallied up how the letters that some of these families get from year to year with attendance, they've been fighting their children on attendance issues for a really long time. And the parents are just like, please get my child out of here. We're ready to be done. We're ready for the next step. They don't want to come to school. And so this is a picture of when we have students that graduate at Pioneer, we take a picture in their cap and gown and put it up on the board. So this is just a snapshot of some of the students, and these aren't the students I'm talking about today, but I just wanted to talk to you about some of our students that are graduating as juniors this year and kind of explain how, as you'll see from these stories, that it's like the whole wide range of reasons that students are choosing to graduate early. Again, a student that started school at an older age is turning 18 this winter, and he has chose to enlist into the military. So be graduating the junior year and enlisting in the military. We have another student that is way above her peers, would probably have graduated in the top 10% at CCHS, but didn't like the social aspect, wanted a smaller environment. And so at Pioneer, keeping her engaged in classes, she worked through our curriculum very quickly, knowing we didn't want her to graduate through COIC, ended up getting her an internship, and she's been after the internship, they've employed her for 6 months. She's going to enroll at COCC with a community health, a health grant. And she's wanting to enter into the medical field. But again, this is us like pulling her back, slowing her down to her junior year. I'm like, no, you can't graduate as a sophomore, but let's get you in these internships. And so she's been able to maintain this employment for the last 6 months. So that's an outcome that yes.
So Jonas, we are actually having a technical issue.
Oh.
We're gonna have to restart that computer. So Madam Chair, I recommend, are we able to take a 5-minute break so that our
Yeah.
recording is preserved?
I'm just
Yes.
on a roll, Joel.
Now I'm on a cliffhanger.
Okay,
Yeah,
stay
okay,
tuned
so-
for more. We're taking breaks.
Yes,
5-minute technology break, and
Okay.
then we'll zoom so we can.
yes, it's 7:48, so we'll just take a quick 5 minutes.
Do we push the button again? Hi, Eric. Can you hear me? Eric, Ryan, can you hear me now? Oh, perfect. All right.
Okay, we're back. Thank you for the technology, 5 minute break, and we're back.
All right.
Back to you.
So I'm going to continue with some student stories. So we had a student that came in with a full-time job, and so we were just working around their work schedule so they can continue to with their full-time job. So they were just like, this is the job I love. I want to do this full-time. I'm out of here. We have another student that graduated this year, just actually a couple weeks ago, because her mother is pregnant. So their family plan is she's going to be daycare for the family. So we were able to graduate her. But before we graduated her, we were able to get her babysitting certification and CPR certifications. And she wants to go into the field of nursing. So she's looking into online college. We had a student that was planning on going to the military, but's had some medical issues. So working with our graduation coach came up with a plan B and is going to be able to graduate and enroll in online classes while her medical issues are being taken care of. And a lot of our students, as Scott knows from when he came to our school lunch the other day and I introduced him to, I think the kids that were hanging around Pioneer during lunchtime, I think all of them, maybe one, were transfers from out of district. And so I think a lot of what we find at Pioneer are students that are coming to us from other districts, credit deficient. So a lot of those buy-in things that we try at the high school to keep kids engaged when they're coming from outside the district, they may not have that that buy-in and they just want to be done. So just a variety of reasons, but I think every kid has a story. And one thing that I've always appreciated about the district, just like I don't know if we're officially a parent choice district, but we always, the parents get to help select what elementary school they go to, if they're going to go to our online program or Grizzly Mountain or Pioneer or the high school. So giving parents their voice and they're always included in that process.
Michelle, can I
Yeah.
back up to something you were saying?
Yes.
Back you up. One of the things that struck me when I visited Pioneer and talked to a number of kids was just how badly damaged some kids have been by their previous experience in other schools, not ours. And we're getting them at the tail end. We're doing some great work with credit recovery and that sort of thing, but we'll never overcome their general perception of school because it wasn't built here and we're not going to get it. And what they want to be is, how can I get out of here and out of the system and never set foot in it ever again? It was really striking in the conversation.
Yeah. One of the students I introduced you to, when I was walking around the first day and then took him over to meet some people at the high school, he's like, I can't believe how nice you guys are. And I'm like, I am so sad that you have gone through 11 years of school and me giving you a tour and smiling at you is a rarity for you in education. So that kind of speaks to a little bit what Scott saw. So one thing to note is that like the counselors do at the high school, Mackenzie Kulak does for us at Pioneer. So every student, it's not like we're just like graduate, go out and do whatever. We're tracking what they're doing. We make sure that they have a plan. We're trying to help support them and we try to engage them as long as we can until either their parents are there, like, yeah, we don't want to do this anymore. And so as you can see, this is kind of the data from our early grads from last year and where they went and what they did after they left us. So we are tracking all that information. Last year was the highest year we've ever had, and we are trending back down. I don't know exactly. I think there's been some trends across the nation, definitely across the state, about students that are coming out of COVID. And I know that seems to be a thing that we keep bringing up, but I think we're kind of see the tail end of that because a lot of these kids now were more at middle school than at high school. So I'm hoping that trend goes down. So this year we're tracking about 14% of the total graduates, where last year was 25% of all the graduates. But I do think that a lot of that was, and that's one data point that I don't think we tracked that would be interesting to track, is how many of those students came from out of district. We got a lot of people from elsewhere that came in the last couple of years that landed with us wanting to be done from all over the United States. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So definitely an interesting thing. I think we've seen an uptick with the last couple of years, which I think plays into that a little bit. But the high school especially has set up new procedures for students who are wanting to graduate early. So there's an application process that requires a parent meeting. They go over their post high school plan. And through that team, they determine whether that's an appropriate, I mean, obviously it's always parent choice, but through those conversations, trying to redirect them if that's not what the team thinks should be going on, and then making sure that there is a plan and a process for after they graduate from high school. And I think the one thing that we just continue to do is promoting those senior opportunities. A lot of those things are more, like at the high school than it necessarily at Pioneer, other than we're trying to do the internships, job, work experience, certifications. But obviously we're not increasing AP and dual credit classes at Pioneer. That's not what our situation is, but things that keep kids at the high school, the traditional high school, keeps kids coming from Pioneer and graduating early. But like I said, a majority of our students that are graduating early aren't coming from the high school, they're coming from out of district. Any questions?
That's interesting that they're coming from, are we talking Ben Lapine, Redmond, or?
All over.
All over.
We get them from Central Oregon, but we get a lot of students from the Valley and a lot of students from out of the state. And when they come,
Youth Challenge?
we have one student that's going to Oregon Youth Challenge, but we don't have a lot of kids that come out of there.
How they're hearing about the school?
I think, how they hear about Pioneer, there's a couple things. When a student comes to Kirk County, they enroll at CCHS. And after reviewing their transcripts, they'll say, it's not a feasible possibility at this time for you to graduate from CCHS based upon how many credits and how much time you have left. So we'll start them either full-time at Pioneer, or if they really have a passion or an interest at CCHS, we'll do dual enrollment so they can take like electives or CTE classes at CCHS and do their core and credit recovery at Pioneer. But we also have had an uptick of people that are coming to us because other places, they know somebody that came to us and graduated. If you look at our graduation rate compared to other people around, we have a much higher graduation rate. So I think we're earning that reputation. And then also some of our local school districts don't have alt-ed programs. And so we have some that are coming to us from other places because they don't have an alt-ed program. So yeah.
Well, and I can honestly say, and this, not because I'm on this school board now, but I visited tons of alternative schools across the state, in the Valley, in Eastern Oregon, Southern Oregon. We had 5 or 6 ourselves. This is the best alternative school I've ever seen. I visited earlier, remember talking, 5 years before I retired about combining our programs, and Michelle was always very receptive. Joel was, Rocky before that, Pete. Every staff member I've ever dealt with from Pioneer was always looking to improve. How do we offer the best situation? I walked in there and I was stunned. I was literally, I haven't seen an alternative program that nice, that well organized, that many options. The kids were all respectful. It was just a really nice experience. I compliment you. It's a nice program.
Thank you.
And that's
we love
why
it there.
kids are going there too.
I mean, that's a
They feel
testament right there.
welcome. They definitely feel welcome.
Statistically, at one point, we had the highest graduation rate and the highest 5-year completer rate of any of the 18 alternative schools in the state. I think that's still true.
You should realize that most districts' alternative schools are a dumping ground. The facilities are usually the worst site on the campus or off campus. This is, I think kids feel more connected here.
And a sense of pride. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, so nice job.
Oh, thank you.
Michelle, how do you think all the work that's being done at CCHS with ways, do you see that integrating with the work you guys are doing or?
I think a little bit just because, well, for a variety of reasons, obviously, we're doing the kind of the similar thing with making sure we're figuring out what their next path is and figuring out what their interests are and tying them in that way. But also, we have a meeting on Monday to go over all of our students that want to take classes at CCHS. And so a lot of our kids that are going over to CCHS are taking those CTE classes and have an interest in that. So I think that for sure there's a crossover. Yeah.
I guess like my heart in all this is not like whether a kid graduates early or not. I think what rattles around in the back of my head is, those 65% that are going into the workforce, like. How can we, and I know this is work you're doing, Michelle, but I think it's a question for the system, but how can we make sure that as many of those kiddos as possible are going into jobs where they're gonna have health insurance and a living wage and
And the nice thing is too, is that, I think that just the system of Pioneer in itself, like the size and the accessibility to our staff, that we have students even after they graduate and they'll come back. We had a 24-year-old student that had graduated with us that came in to get help with their FAFSA the other day. They know what to do when they want to take that next step. And I think that some of our kids will take the next step in their career. And some of them are entering into very high. I mean, you'd be shocked about some of the skilled positions that some of these kids are getting, but we also are getting, I think that's the other trend of why there's less this year than in previous years is because people aren't hiring like they were a year ago. And so I think there's less of a desire to go into the workforce because they're not getting pulled to these full-time positions. But I think that is the nice part is that they always know that they can come, they can get help. We're constantly seeing kids that have graduated over the last couple of years that are coming in to getting help.
I think community members would be surprised too. I see a lot of ex-students that a lot keep in touch with that are in really well-paying jobs in this community. And people just don't know, because they're in their mid-20s or 30s and I mean, they're good, productive citizens and they walked out with a GED or a diploma in some cases, but there are opportunities. You just have to help guide them towards those opportunities.
Thank you for everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And if any of you, I don't think Eric, you're the only one that maybe I haven't given a tour to.
Hey,
Wow.
see that, we're.
Next Friday?
Way to call me out. I'll be-
You'll love it. Perfect. All right. And this Friday, we're taking everyone to the skills trade fair in the Shoes County. So.
At the Expo Center?
At the Expo Center. So, yep, I'll be driving the short bus.
Oh, great.
Work out. All right. Thank you guys.
Thank you. 6.4 Facilities Condition Assessment Report or Update, Mr. Bliss. Hello, sir.
Hi there. All right, so about 3 weeks ago, we had our very first meeting with the architects regarding the long-range facilities planning process and the assessments. So that was the core team, which consists of Eric Ryan, Dr. Hoff, Board Director Bradley, Board Chair Knight, myself, Anna Logan, and Tammy Parker. I think that was it, right? So that's just the small committee that they reviewed the long-range facilities plan process with us and kind of went through everything. And then we had a second meeting last week where they presented the data that they had collected from the assessments. So we got to look at the preliminary data, which is far from the finished product. It's really hard to look at it and say, what? Yeah, but it's far from being completed. It's like the backbone of what the long-range facilities plan will be based on. And then we also discussed the recruitment of the long-range facilities committee. Our first meeting is scheduled for December 3rd. And there's a meeting the first week of each month until March 3rd. March 4th, that will be our final meeting. And after that, then that committee will be making a recommendation to the board to accept the long-range facilities plan or not, one of the two. And that's kind of where things are at right now. We're just really we're right on the edge of getting that full committee started so we can start having our regular long-range facilities committee meetings. We still haven't received the assessment data from ODE. It'll be interesting to compare what ODE's assessment team, how it compares with what the architects did.
When are we expecting that?
That's sweet.
They told me mid-October and,
Okay.
and they haven't even reviewed all the sites yet. There was a hang up with their background checks and stuff, but that's been all resolved and, I don't know when they'll be back to do. They got like 3 more schools to do, so.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions for me? Okay.
That was quick.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 6.5, Powellview Community Charter Potential Reintegration Update. And that's you. Dr. Hunt.
My dear friend Hannah Logan's gonna help tag things with me. So, as promised, we're bringing back more information from the board about the potential reintegration with Powellview. We've met with Meredith Foley as well to start gathering what the information is that both Powellview families as well as Crook County School Board would want to know. We've got 5 key areas, the students and staff at Powellview, students and families, and then area 2 would be the Powellview staff. We'll report out on the financial implications of what it would mean for the district as well as Powellview. There's some items around what would happen with the Powellview board that's important to share, and then finally ancillary services. So for number 1, for the impact on Powellview students and families, this was actually interesting as we dive into it. In terms of the day-to-day experience of Powellview students and families, there wouldn't be this huge radical turnover if they joined. Their curriculum is surprisingly aligned. They use iReady as their benchmarking. A number of pieces are already in place. The main difference, they don't use Wit and Wisdom, which is our main English curriculum. However, after next year, we'll be looking for a new English curriculum anyways. So there's not a huge discrepancy there. The big pieces, as we've talked to Powellview folks, are can we keep our place-based / storyline, which is very comparable to what Steensbiller does. And then, we're seeing a lot of curricular alignment, more than I would have thought. So that's been encouraging. One of the key issues that the Powellview family raised, Powellview families, was, does our fundraised money stay at Powellview? Is the district going to come take all this money? And we've assured them that there's no intention that the money raised, just like at any other schools, if Crooked River raised money for a playground, that stuff stays at Crooked River. Another key consideration for families, we continue the enrollment process. That would be very similar to what we're doing at Steensbiller, where we're prioritizing siblings as well as proximity location. We look to obviously grandfather students that are already there. We wouldn't say, oh, now that you joined, you can no longer go here. That would be fair to anyone. The big benefits for families is increased overall support to the school, particularly around our ancillary services. Technology would be where we see the biggest benefit. And also, as we've kind of met with Meredith, talked with Anna, I feel the biggest benefit is to students, staff, and families will be able to actually focus on the school experience rather than, oh, I got to get this ODE report, or I've got to get my board in line, or I've got to get policies passed, where just like our other principals, they focus on their school and their school experience. So that'll be a big benefit. The next step for students and families is, and I will be attending their family night later this week to answer questions to Powellview families. Our next area, Powellview staffing. We have met with our union. We expect that all Powellview staff would be able to remain in their positions. There's a lot of HR technical onboarding stuff that would be involved. We're doing a PERS, some of the benefits we're doing. A PERS analysis. So right off the bat, the staff would get a 6% PERS raise. They don't currently cover PERS, so that would be a big benefit to staff. We're doing an analysis of their salary with the PERS benefit and the wage scales, so that's taking place.
Can you back up? They're
Yeah.
in PERS, they're just not doing the pick.
The district doesn't pay it, so,
Pickup.
yeah, so right off the bat, their staff will get a 6% as we pick it up.
it'll be free.
Free, oh, sorry, yes, free. We'd also be able to have people in our teacher and admin mentoring. We have a teacher mentor, so that would be a benefit, as well as certified and classified meeting benefits around like, teacher reimbursement, PD reimbursement and those sort of things. So I believe Anna and Joel are working on a salary scale and benefit analysis for each staff member, so they know exactly, here's what you make now, here's what you would make. And then we're also this onboarding program where all of a sudden we would have probably 16 new employees. So we're working with the HR department to figure out the nuances there. I'm gonna turn it over to Anna for our financial considerations.
One of the questions is, how does this impact the district's finances if we were to reintegrate the Calgary school? And I've done an initial analysis that looks like it'll be budget neutral. I still have some more details I need to work through, and that's in this next steps and planning section. But one of the things that I do want to point out under key considerations is that as we bring on a certain number of new employees suddenly, our total payroll increases dramatically. And when our payroll costs increase, our PERS savings decrease. But we only have a couple years left in that PERS savings program that we're in. And so I don't think it'll be a huge deal, but it is something we need to just kind of be aware of. So in the next steps in planning is really just to kind of continue to calculate the salary of the salaried staff and the wages of the wages of the hourly staff and the benefits and everything, and just make sure adding in, what are the utilities that we expect to pay and all these other expenses that the district doesn't currently cover, that the charter currently covers, we would have those expenses on our books. And so we just need to make sure that that's all gonna come out to be a budget neutral type situation, so that if I'm saying it's budget neutral, it really is. And then the second thing I really need to do is make sure that changing it from a charter school to a district operated school doesn't have any impact to the remote school funding, which is an extra weight for the ABM. So we get extra money because it's got a remote school designation. And there was a change to the law in 2011 for that remote school funding that I just need to make sure it doesn't have any impact when we switch operations. I don't think it will, but I don't want to get into it and then suddenly find out at the last minute that it's a big problem. So the way we think this would work, there's always options, but the logical way this would work is that because Powellview Community Charter School is its own 501c3 entity, that entity would no longer need to exist, so they could dissolve. But it would probably take 6 months or so, because they would need to file their final IRS forms and their state forms and pay their, anything, any bills and things like that. So it would take some time, but then they would really no longer need to exist. So if that group of board members wanted to remain involved, potentially they could be on a PTO or they could be on a parent advisory. There's a couple different phrases that people use. What's the right parent?
I like PTO.
Okay,
A parent.
parent group, some kind of parent group. If they wanted to be, yeah. And then, they did request that that their mascot stays as the Hawks. And Joel said 100% yes, and I said 99.5% yes, because it is a school board decision, so just.
You want to change their mascot. It's a big deal to them.
Big deal.
That's what we want to fight
The
about.
water.
I know,
pumps.
yeah.
Gotta
That's
keep the water
something we
pumps.
would care about, but I just wanted to say, I'm not making promises because we want to be honest that this is a school board decision. And then the parent leadership group, they can continue to focus on fundraising and their school and experiences and not have to worry about policies and facilities, as Joel mentioned. So we will ask or request that they would get a, what's called a, insurance tail policy. So when you cease existing, you purchase a policy that would then cover anything that comes up throughout whatever the statute of limitations is, any claims that might come up. So all of those things things we're considering.
Yeah, so the next is our ancillary services, and this is where actually, we always want to go back to why are we even doing this, talking about this? This is where we see the biggest benefit to Pal Butte, where there really would be increased technology support. That's where we see the biggest change. So it'd be working with Eric and working with their staff. That would be a pretty big project plan that we need to put in place. We also believe we'd see increased maintenance and facility support, even though it's our building, we would staff it and they'd get more support there. They'd also get increased legal services. They'd come under our umbrella of having the ESD legal team. They would, this was a big thing they asked about, they would fall under our umbrella for our SRO as well. They currently don't have kind of direct, they call dispatch. So they would have an SRO. And then we also talked about potential future bond alignment where there is, this is something the Pal Butte folks shared, was it's probably more likely that more Pal Butte people would be interested in our bond if they knew that that was their school and their school was a part of us and all on the same team. So next steps, we would get some technology planning with Eric, as well as do an equipment inventory. A lot of stuff we'll want to look into.
We thought it would be smart to give you a list of things we think you'll be presented with in the future, or not presented with. The decisions you will have to make or decisions you won't have to make, just so that you kind of are clear that these things may come forward to you. We may want to enter into a transition contract with the entity Pal Butte Community Charter School that just says, these are our expectations of what we think will happen when this transition occurs. And so it'd be weird because we'd be making a contract with an entity that potentially could dissolve in the future, but it also kind of like lays the foundation for that these expectations aren't just verbal. The board would have to name the school because currently it doesn't have a name as a Crook County School District school. It has a name as a charter school, Pal Butte Community Charter School, and that would no longer be its name. And so we're assuming that it would be Pal Butte Elementary School, but
Like it used to be.
like it used to be. But again, that's a 99.5% certainty that the board would choose. But it is in board policy that the board names facilities and assigns a mascot. So just know that that'll probably be something that you'll be presented with just to.
Probably should put the colors up there too, because only 99.5 will keep those.
Yeah.
That's our opinions.
And along with that, we will have to go through a process with ODE where we say this school is going to change names and it's going to change status from charter school to district school. And so there will be board action. ODE won't just accept an application from Joel or me. It has to have board approval. As we adopt the budget, right now there's one page for Pal Butte and it just shows a pass-through of state school fund and maybe a little bit of, property insurance and a little bit of stuff like that. But that would be a much bigger budget for the Pal Butte Center. And then you would see new hires on the consent agenda. If the Pal Butte Community Charter School does not want to request a renewal, meaning they want to reintegrate the school into the district, they would just not request a renewal of their current charter. So there would be no board action to say, we're not going to renew the charter. It would just be an absence of action because they wouldn't request a renewal. They have not made the decision whether they want to request a renewal or not. And if they, under normal circumstances, if we weren't having these conversations, at the 180-day mark, which is December 31st, they would need to give the school district a request to renew the charter. And it's very, very likely that it would be renewed because there's legally some very specific circumstances in which the board would be able to not renew. And I don't think it would be really like they're not performing or some really bad things that the board would be able to say, we're not going to renew them. And so none of those things really are valid. So if they if they don't come to a decision by December 31st, they may want to come to us in January and say, can we have, the law says 180 days, but it also says that both parties can agree on an alternate timeline. So they may come to us and say, we want this much time to come to you with a renewal request. So then you would have to decide how much time do we really need? Because there's a certain point in time where it's too late for us to start this process and still be able to open in September.
Anna, real quick, back to the naming of the facilities. Would they just go back to what their name was prior to Talbot Charter School then?
That would be a board decision.
Okay.
And probably with a recommendation from the superintendent. But if you want to look at that policy FF, just to kind of see what it says.
Okay.
It would make sense that it would be called Talbot Elementary School, but.
Can their board or Meredith say, hey, we would like it to be Talbot School or whatever they decide? I mean, can they come and say, this is what we would like to see happen? You know, is this?
Anyone can really make a recommendation to the board and they can make a request.
Okay.
So, yes.
They want that. They definitely want to be the Hawks. It's well, probably Talbot Elementary Hawks, you know.
Right.
If
however
they
that
wanna go.
looks for them. Okay.
Not trying, you wouldn't expect to get fancier.
Right. Okay.
That's it. Just on next steps for all this. So like I said, this week, and I will go and I believe that, Talbot has advertised to the families come. If you have questions, we'll give a presentation very similar to the one you just received. The Talbot board has a regular board meeting on November 20th, that Anna and I will attend as well to answer any questions from the board. And then we'd hope, and Anna kind of alluded to this, we would need some sort of indication of a decision relatively soon, like late winter, just because the planning that would take place. So we'll have another update for the board at our December meeting. Any questions?
No questions? Okay. Thank you, everybody. Oh, no, you're good?
That's a good job.
Oh, okay, sorry. 6.6, the 24-25 West AS report by the county. Dr. Hoffman, please.
Try not to do too much Facebook, but when I do get on, my algorithm is very much people ranting against school districts. So and in a good news, I haven't seen much ranting against the Cook County School District, but a few weeks ago, a random rant against a school district, I believe it was Douglas County, popped up, and it was someone saying how bad their school district was and look how bad our county is compared to all the other counties. So then it's like, well, how the county's doing on their county chart, because you normally look at student data, OSAS data by district, not by county. So it was kind of a different way to look at it. And I was pleasantly surprised that we are top tier. When you break down Oregon by counties rather than districts, our county rose to the top. So I quickly said, "Bree, can you verify this data?" So Bree did some work and was able to dig into the county data, and we were affirmed that we really are doing an amazing job. Bree can tell us more.
Yeah, I love these questions because they give us an opportunity to celebrate where we're at and look to how we can get better. And when we ask questions about county data, we get to more questions and we get to more thoughts on this stuff. So yeah, I was excited when Joel brought this to me and we were able to see where we were at as a county. Then it sparked my interest to say, where are we at in regards to our other school districts? So in Oregon, there are I like to think of like what makes us similar, what can we kind of group together? And so I pulled together the medium-sized school districts, and those are districts with enrollment between 1,000 students and 7,000 students. And we're roughly in the middle of that because we stand at, just over 3,000. And so when we rank ourselves there, we're 12th out of 79 for ELA and 15th out of 79 for math. And I think that's pretty encouraging because that tells us that we're in the top 15% of medium-sized school districts. And as I looked at that data, I was like, man, I bet we're pretty high on the all districts. So I pulled the all districts, and out of 197 districts in the state of Oregon, we're 38th in ELA and 37th in math. For me, Joel and I spend a lot of time looking at our data, right? And I can get kind of like bogged down in the, oh, we're just at this percentage, we need to be higher, we need to be higher, and we feel that way. But it's also nice to sometimes take a step back and look at where the rest of the state is, and then be able to seek out where can we make growths and celebrate the tremendous growth that our students and our teachers and our administrators are leading to make these bounds. And then from there, we can push forward, and gonna pass back to Joel to talk about some of our next steps that we identified after looking at this
Yeah, it really goes
data.
back to the values we've talked about since the start of the year, Better Never Stops, where we're always looking, Bree and I sat down with Kimberly and her team a couple weeks ago, just like, what did you do to get that growth? And we always want to be squeezing that sponge of how can we get better? How do we get every last drop of improvement that we can do? So you saw the vertical and horizontal alignment we're working on, particularly tonight on the pathways. Clearly defining here are our core instructional practices that we know are valuable and moving the dial. And then also just making sure we have a coherent curriculum. So getting alignment across all our schools so that we're all our arrows are pointing in the same direction. One other interesting thing that popped up, I got sent this because I'm all about triangulating the data. And the Washington Post recently came out with, where's the best county? And I can send this to you all. What's the best place to raise a family by county? And they did it for the whole United States. And they looked at 4 metrics: affordability. They looked at education and weighted how are these test scores for all the county. They looked at policies. So is it parental rights, or are there policies in the state that help parents raise their kids? And then finally, safety. And so I got sent some said, look at where Crook County is. And believe it or not, if you look at the map and you can dig closer into this, so the dark red is good. The dark red means more favorable. And you can dig into the metrics, but Crook County, because of all those factors, and it was heavily weighted with education, surfaced as one of the best place to raise kids in all of Oregon, and then also one of the top in the country. So something we're really proud of. We always have believed in our community, but it's so awesome to see that legitimized through national publication. So I'm all set now. Any questions?
Nice job, team.
Don't advertise that.
Don't, all the local, yeah, don't tell anyone.
We're lucky to be in Crook County.
Go raise your kids somewhere else. All right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move to 6.7, which was one of our additions.
Yeah, we wanted to do, I was just so encouraged by our community and the support they gave as the SNAP benefits went on pause. I just wanted to do an update to the board and the community just so that we could make sure we're publicly thanking people. So my bullet points, and this is probably more political than I usually am, is when we realized that our students weren't going to get food, essentially that these benefits that a lot of our families rely on, we saw other districts say, well, we're going to wait for guidance from the ODE, or we're going to wait for the federal government, or we're going to wait for someone else to solve our problem. And what I was so encouraged by, I looked at Bree and our staff. We said, we're going to take care of this on our own. Like, we are going to make sure our students are fed. So within, I think it was 20 minutes of us putting out, hey, we're collecting food, we had a sweet lady show up with 2 bags of groceries and a $100 bill and said, whatever is actually the coolest thing. She goes, I knew you guys were going to do something. I was just waiting. So that was so encouraging that the community expects us to do something. They rely on us and they know that we're going to take care of our students. So there's a page in the consent agenda that lists all the donations. So please look through that. We have board members, we've had board members' kids raise money, we've had students raise money. And it's been I've never been more proud of our community to step up and take care of our people. So a big thank you. Thousands of food items, well over $1,000. And then by the end of next week, we'll deliver 150 bags each week for 2 weeks. So really encouraged. Our next steps, we're going to continue as you've probably seen the federal government kind of go back and forth on this. So we're going to continue our expanded food bags and our after school snacks through this week. We'll send out a new round of bags on Friday. And then as the SNAP benefits are restored, we'll shift that, and parents can still sign up for the regular weekend backpack program, but we'll have remainder food go to the schools just so it's in their pantries and whatnot. And then we'll continue to work with our family access network. You met Brenda Boback tonight to make sure students are supported. Any questions?
That's amazing.
Thank you to the amazing community and all the people that have helped out. Yeah, really, really impressive.
Well, thank you for bringing that.
Just shout out further to you. So 3 days before we found out the SNAP benefits were not gonna happen. In my role as executive director for Neighbor Impact, running the regional food bank, I sent an email to every superintendent's district. And I said, you can be a part of the solution for the tragedy that's coming up. And immediately got a response back from Joel saying, we're on it. Of course, he built a wonderful system. Got some middle of the road responses and got a response from, I'm gonna name him, Ben Lapine, that said, we're waiting for guidance from ODE. On Tuesday, October 28th, ODE sent out that guidance. And as of Sunday, Ben Lapine is still waiting for guidance from ODE. While Crook County has been feeding its kids and making sure nobody went hungry. So good for you, Joel.
It goes to the team for sure. Lots of good people. Bree's done a lot of heavy lifting on stuff.
Tim, thank you.
Yeah, and a big thank you to Scott Cooper, been leading this effort region wide, and what is it, 8,000 meals a month?
Wow.
It's remarkable how much his organization puts out.
Wow. Well, thank you for bringing that to light, because a lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
So that's very encouraging what our district does.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Joel, can we just keep a tab on this? I think.
Yeah. Good idea.
I think it was eye-opening, I think, even for myself to see just how many kiddos do go hungry. I mean, through Sean's work, a sense of that, but all this work that we're doing on excellent education, it's not gonna matter if kiddos are hungry and.
Yeah. I put a last bullet point on here and I skipped over it, but I believe that we should be able as a district to make a promise to every student and every family that no student will go hungry in Crook County. And I believe we have the structures in place that if your student is enrolled in Crook County, we can guarantee you that your student will not go hungry. And that's pretty cool to be able to promise our families.
It's a strong community too.
For sure.
7.0 school board, going to 7.1 superintendent selection process. Mr. Scott Cooper.
Okay, so we talked about this at the last meeting, that we are up to the point where we need to make some decisions about how we want to go forward in the superintendent selection process for a permanent superintendent. Joel is our interim. He will be our interim by contract until June of 2026. Although he has an opportunity to exit that contract in January if he chooses to do that again in June and non-renew. There is a season for the search for a superintendent. You cannot hit a window, because everybody who's gonna move on for whatever reason is looking in that sort of December through May period. And then if you try and search outside of that, then you're gonna get somebody who didn't get selected in that period, or who had to leave their district suddenly, or who had other reasons why they couldn't go do the normal process, and that will limit your opportunity. So you would want to decide if you're going to move on hiring a superintendent through a competitive process to be our long-term superintendent, then you should probably have been moving on this last month. So there is another option, as we talked about. You can always go to a direct appointment. In our case, we have an interim superintendent who we seem to be very happy with. So we could go straight to just negotiate a contract and appoint Joel if we wanted to. So there are 4 options on the table in front of you. And option number 1 is the competitive search process. We're starting a little bit behind, but to do that, you really have to hire an outside search firm. And then they go out and they know who's looking, who isn't looking. They have all the secrets, and they put your panel together, and then you bring them in. You have to put your profile together so they can work with it. Then they bring your candidates in. Generally we have a community committee that screens resumes and makes a recommendation to the board. Then the board does the initial interviews and cuts that down to finalists. And then we bring the finalists with their spouses to look at the community and do some meet and greets. Then we make a final selection. And then we have the committee and we get them on board by July 1st. That's one way we can do it. If you go to the direct appointment process, and I put 2 options in there. One is a direct appointment after a community consultation, and one is just a direct appointment. So option two, and you can really play with this all you want to, but under that scenario, we would do a survey of the community regarding satisfaction with the direction of schools under the leadership of the current superintendent. We would, or whatever candidate we wanted to appoint. We would share those results with the board in February. We would then do some listening sessions. We would typically do the two unions plus parents and the public plus students. We can add all of the numbers of listening sessions you want to attend. We report out at the March board meeting, and in April, we move forward with either based on that feedback and the survey feedback, with either authorizing the permanent appointment of the superintendent or not authorizing the permanent appointment. If we don't authorize a permanent appointment, then we skip to option 4, which is the competitive search I described at the start, but just with a different timeline. The option 3 is that we don't do a community consultation and we simply say, we want to write a contract. We could do that tonight if we wanted to do it. So those really are your 3 options, and you really do need to pick one of them tonight. Which is what you were warned about in November, because we have got to get this process started if we're going to pick the competitive search. If we're not, we've got a little time. We don't have to worry about that until January. But if you want to authorize the search, tonight's the night to do it.
I don't want to do a competitive search.
Well, I'd second that.
I'm in that same category.
I'd be fine with direct appointment, but I think it'd be wise to have community consultation.
I agree.
Yep.
And my main, listening to the young lady tonight, I heard that at a board meeting during the dark days too, a student who came up and really made a good point about not having student leadership involved with the selection of a superintendent. So I think we owe it to them.
Yeah.
And the community to have a voice. Yeah, other than that, my gut was leaning towards option 3, but I think 2 is a wiser choice.
Yeah, I think it's kinder to Joel to set them up for success.
I think it also gives us a chance to get feedback, and Joel to get feedback.
Yeah.
If there's something we're missing or not seeing. I mean, complaints can be taken 2 ways. It's either get out and be horrible, or hey, this is what you need to do to improve. So give them a chance.
So if we want to do that, then we need a motion tonight to adopt option 2. We also need to direct somebody from staff to staff this. Joel should not run his own review process. So we either would need Joe or probably Bree, one of the 2 of you, to be the person.
You'd also want Eric to help with any surveying and whatnot.
You're not allowed to be part of this conversation.
Just sit there and look pretty. Okay, so we need first we need to start with a motion.
Right, the motion would be to adopt option 2.
I motion that we adopt option 2.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt option 2, which is the direct appointment after community consultation, and we have a second. Do we have further discussion? Okay, let's vote. Scott?
Yes.
Kelsey?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
And yes as well. So thank you for the motion and the passing of that. And now do we need to make a motion to
Stop it, or is that?
We need to know which board member is leading it, and we need to know who's staffing it, and I presume the chair might be leading this one.
I thought the vice chair wanted to take that.
Gotta get ahead of that.
You're right. Do we need to have a motion for that as well, or you?
I think probably you as chair can, I mean, normally the board does not direct staff,
Okay.
but this is not normal. So maybe,
Do we need a motion or are we
I
just,
think you can just do it.
okay,
The chair will say,
okay.
say, I'm going to lead this, and who from staff is going to be your support.
Are we doing rock, paper, scissors on the staff? Or am I just appointing someone?
Seriously.
That's nicely. So, is there is it, you usually pick this person versus this person, or does it
No,
matter?
I don't know. Between the 2 of you, who's got capacity?
I'm happy to do it. or we can collaborate or whatever,
I
whatever.
like collaboration.
Good.
I would like for Bree and Joe to collaborate
Okay.
on this adventure of the direct appointment after community consultation of the interim superintendent to superintendent. Anything else I need to speak of? Or is that it?
Supporting whom on the board?
I thought it was myself.
Yeah. That's what I wanted. Out loud.
That's what you're.
I know, he does that. He does that. And we will be collaborating together as board chair and Jill and Bree. Perfect. Hey, we have all that discussed. Thank you for that, Mr. Cooper.
Yeah, thanks, Scott, for bringing this to our attention.
And our options. It's nice that we had all the options and that we all had it to be able to read and know
Collaboration with Eric for survey text. I don't know where I heard that.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
somewhere. But yes, he's right there,
Perfect.
Eric, on my list. Okay. 7.2 OSBA Election of Legislative Policy Committee, Dr. Hoff.
Yeah, the board gets to make another decision, so each year, the OSBA, regional members can vote to be on or can apply to be on the regional, legislative committee. So this year you have Sean Gallagher and his application materials are in your packet. The board has three options here. One, you can review his materials and as a board, vote to, positively vote for him. Option two would be to say we won't vote for him. Or option three, which the last board did, was to just abstain. As I know many of you probably don't know Sean Gallagher, outside of his election materials. So you're welcome to choose one of those three options and we'll take it from there.
And Madam Chairman, I don't know Mr. Gallagher either, but I did take advantage of my time at OSBA to talk to the Jefferson County board members who did know him. They were all highly complimentary. We once held this position when Patty Norris sat in the seat. I am in no hurry to sit on it. I don't know about the rest of you. So I think we ought to support the people who volunteer and are willing to give of their time. So I move to support the nomination of Sean Gallagher for the legislative policy council.
I did not know this who was running for it, and I actually do know Sean. I worked with him quite a bit when he was principal at Madras, and then he was principal.
Kevin, we
Yeah.
have to see about a second and then we can discuss.
Okay.
He was getting to that.
Okay, good. Okay.
I worked, he was the principal down in Lakeview. And I would support him. So
I heard
that's the
second.
Okay. So we have a motion to select Mr. Gallagher and a second to vote yes. Do we have further discussion?
Did Kevin get it all out?
I know, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, he's a
Please
good
cut
guy.
me.
That's basically it. He's a good guy, smart.
My stance was I didn't know him. I mean, you can read about him, right, on paper and all the things, but I don't have any personal interaction with him. I don't know him from John Doe or anybody. So, I mean, my inkling was to go with option 3 of abstaining since I did not know of him. That's my 2 cents. What's the rest of the board deciding?
I support him.
Personal recommendation over here. Researched over there, I'm fine with supporting it.
Do we have further discussion? Are we ready to vote? You ready to vote? Okay.
Let's do it.
Scott?
Yes.
Kelsey?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kevin? Almost said Eric twice.
Wait on your vote.
I know that. I'm thinking, I'm mulling.
You don't have to.
Yeah, it's so roughly.
Yes.
So Tammy will take care of the next steps on
Okay.
formally submitting the board's vote.
Okay. That was rougher than I thought it was gonna be. Dear goodness gracious. Okay. 7.3, board committee participant appointment, Dr. Haas.
Yes, your cover sheet has the names of the staff as well as one parent that will serve on the 3 board committees. In addition, not on here is the policy committee is Mr. Cooper, Mr. Bradley, and then myself. So I didn't put myself on here for the policy committee, so we'll have to amend that. We're still working. I've reached out to a number of parents, believe it or not. The board committees are not as the illustrious position that we thought. And I've gotten a few strong no's from parents. But this at least, as these get underway, gets our staff locked in and transparent that that's who's serving on the committee. And we'll continue to work on getting more parents as well as a couple students on each. So it would be these 3 committees with the staff members and then an addition of the policy committee appointing myself to that.
Madam Chair, I moved to accept the interim superintendent's recommendation of committee representatives as presented with the addition of Joel Hop as representative to the policy committee.
My second.
Okay, we have a motion to a motion and a second to adopt this of the interim superintendent's recommendation of the committee represent as presented with the amendment of the policy committee, Scott, Eric, and Joel. Do we have further discussion? Okay, let's vote.
No, it's Kevin and Joel
Oh,
for the policy committee.
oh, sorry.
I thought you were talking about Eric Ryan.
Sorry.
Wow.
Nope. Okay, of Kevin, sorry. Do we have further discussion?
No.
Okay, Scott,
Yes.
Kelsey,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
and yes as well. Just trying to throw somebody else in there. That's okay.
Everyone's welcome.
Everybody's welcome, right? You said you need more people. Okay, 7.4, October school site visits report, Dr. Hoff, you're up again.
This turned into one of my favorite things this year, and it was very organic. And just before we get started, Jen and I have a date that we're working on to get her to visit, and Eric and I also have a date. So, but this started with, I think Kevin was just interested and said, hey, I'd like to get into some schools. I haven't been in schools for a while. And then Scott said, hey, it's National School Lunch Week. Let's go eat hamburgers at every school. And then Kelsey similarly was like, hey, I'd love to get in schools. I haven't been in schools for a while. And so I have pictures of each. Kevin, I apologize. This was the only picture. If you notice right here, that's Kevin. But such a great opportunity. And I think I really wanted to be intentional with the board and staff this year about getting our board in schools, interacting positively with staff and supporting staff. So I just wanted to give the board an opportunity, Mr. Cooper, Ms. Swick, and Mr. Bradley to share what was interesting, a new learning, or a highlight just briefly of your experience.
I had a great time. I'll do it again.
Yeah.
I want to thank all the administrators, Mr. Huffman, Mr. Hayes, and where else did we went to Pioneer? I was impressed with, I mainly was looking at an institute at CTE programs, but I most impressed, every classroom I walked into, every kid was engaged. I mean, there was no goofing off. There just looked like a bunch of happy students working on stuff they were real interested in. So I just want to thank them for taking the time to take us around. And yeah, I'd love to do it again. I'd like to go see all the elementary schools. Yeah.
I had a blast. It was, I thought I had a pretty high tolerance for chaos. Mom of 3 boys, but no, like afterwards I was so tired. I wanted to go to bed. But we kind of laughed about the fact that we did it right before Halloween, but it was like, I mean, the staff was just rolling with it and made it happen. And I mean, I've always known cognitively that you guys deal with an incredible amount of complexity but just to see it you know, firsthand was, I think I left with a renewed sense of respect, and I get really jealous when I hear about Nacho
Nacho Tuesday.
Tuesday. And everybody hanging out while I'm at home by myself, but it was amazing, and I felt really welcomed, and I definitely want to come back. Joel kept herding me along. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not done. Like,
Not to see.
I know, I got sucked in.
Mr. Cooper.
I did 7 total visits this month, which was interesting, and at every level. And so my first shout out would be to the classified staff for the way they are running the lunch program. The food was high quality. Joel loves cheeseburgers, by the way. Cheeseburgers and salad, that's a big number for Joel. I didn't have broader taste. I like grilled cheese as well. Cheeseburger. So we made it through there. I saw smiling kids who liked the food. I saw staff who were friendly and helping kids along the way. I saw some innovative cleaning methods that, I mean, because you have to clean those tables like between every turn, and they can do it like that. It's amazing. I saw some queuing and lineup strategies that kept kids moving but made nobody, they adopted basically the Disneyland model with the serpentine ropes, except they used orange cones on the ground. Kids know how to run it.
Yeah.
It was really fascinating. I was in classrooms, and I also visited with groups of kids at lunch every day. I cannot tell you how many kids told me when I asked them what their favorite class was. With the exception of one school, they all said math. Math, math, math. I heard that everywhere. I heard that from a group of Latino boys who couldn't speak English, but we talked in Spanish. I didn't do so great, but enough to understand. And, you know, tonight when I saw our scores in math at the county level, suddenly I understood that, because it made no sense, since you usually ask the kid what they like when they're gonna take a recess in PE. But that isn't what they said. They said math. And when I see if kids like something, they're gonna do well at it. When I saw that data tonight, it was confirmatory. They did, they are making it. And how did they make math popular? It wasn't popular when I was in school.
Yeah.
So that was amazing to hear. I went into one classroom, Steve Miller's classroom. Of course, Steve told me, let's put Mr. Cooper on the spot and have him solve this math problem in front of the entire class. Which I had no idea how to solve a math problem the way they were solving it, but I had a 5th grader show me. And then I showed him 2 other ways he could have solved it.
Long division.
So, yep, exactly. So we managed that
Did
pretty
you pull
well.
out your phone?
I did not. But I can solve math 3 ways. Can you solve a problem?
No way. Be pulling out.
Who knew there was another way? I had another group of kids at high school that just blew me away. I sat down with a group. It was a random, I didn't know these kids. You know, it turns out they all had parents who were involved at some level in our recent controversy. And so we talked about a few policies that are, you know, we're going through now, like the cell phone policy. What do you think about it? That sort of thing. And what I didn't understand until that sit down was how much we were silently teaching our kids who were silently observing us when we were going through all of our traumas a year ago. Those kids absorbed lessons from that. They know how to take, these are freshman girls. They know how to take in information. They know how to weigh both sides. They know how to pause and consider the facts and then come up with a reasoned argument. They know how to challenge each other and then listen respectfully, waiting to hear another opinion and then weigh that and feed back and forth. This is what I hope kids are able to do by the end of their senior year. This is not what I expect kids to be able to do at the beginning of their freshman year. But they got an accelerated course in how to do civil dialogue and they learned from it. They were amazing. There was something good that came.
I was
out.
just gonna say, there was something good that came out then.
So it was cool. It was cool for our kids. And then the last one I went to was the kid, I went with Joel, Miss Dearden's class, which every year has their kindergartners come in and they draw a picture at the beginning of school of whatever their thing is. I saw dragons and cats and who knows what else. Well, they collect the pictures and they send them off to the ceramics high school class. And they take their pictures and they transform them into 3-dimensional fired objects. And then they bring them back on exchange day. And they sit down with their kids and the little kids' eyes just light up. because of the big kid. And they sit down and they give them back their picture and they give them back their 3D object of their picture. And then they do a craft project together. And it was so cool to watch those two generations come together and experience, you know, joy in art and just joy in seeing each other. And while the big kids are just best friends with little kids.
I was gonna say, they were probably just as excited as the
Oh, yeah,
littles.
they were totally taking care of the little. It was really a cool day.
So
Then I
one
had
thing-
another cheeseburger.
I love that. After 5 days in a row, I was dead. But one thing Kelsey actually said as we were finishing up that I thought was so poignant was, she said, Joel, it's so easy when you're sitting at the board table to forget your why. And that's why I will continue and let's do rounds. Connecting with students and seeing that it's, when we do policies, there is a connection and this is what the daily life looks like. I think that's so important and something that I'm just so proud of our schools. So it's, in a sense, it's ability to show off all the amazing things that our principals, teachers, classified staff across the board were doing. So thank you to the board for, I know a lot of you have busy work schedules. But thank you for taking the time and I look forward to continuing the practice because I think if nothing else, to have our board show up positively in our schools is so important for our district right now. So I really appreciate you guys doing that.
Absolutely. Can't wait. Okay, moving to 8.0 policy updates. Dr. Hoff?
Speaking of the fun work that we, so you'll see you've got a policy cover sheet and a couple things. So we've started our policy committee and what that is, just as we haven't done this in a few years. So all the policies as they come from OSBA, staff or the legislature, now we have a process where we take those to what's called the policy committee, which is Scott, Kevin, myself, and then whatever staff member most relates to the policy. So all of these policies now have already gone through a first reading. And the first reading with Mr. Cooper is definitely the real deal. So these have been screened. And so we're bringing these to you now. In addition, on your cover sheet, it goes, we say for each policy, what's the context? Did this come from OSBA? Did this come from the staff recommendation? And then also, we have posted all of these on our website. None of these got community feedback, but we really want to value our community feedback and give them opportunities. So we'll continue to do that. And last but not least, we are also continuing to send these to the community school boards as well for review. So essentially, all these policies have already had 3 rounds of eyes on them. So that's how our process now works. So
fancy.
the idea is it should streamline things, but you never know. And it is important for the whole board to still review and look through these. So with that, we can jump to the policies.
Okay, is Joe is headed up?
Yep.
For the first one.
All right, good evening. I just had 2 kind of quick ones from OSBA. The first one is CBG, evaluation of the superintendent. There's only one change on this and it was changing one word. Changes administrative to superintendent. And that's the only change on CBG, going from what was in the past to what's being presented.
That's it.
That's it.
So. Okay.
Second one is CCG. As
Wait, can we just? Like, are we gonna go? Okay, sorry. I'm listening.
It's okay.
You question both.
Yeah.
You can adopt all of them individually, or if the board is interested, can wait to go through them all and then do a mass adoption of them all. There's pros and cons.
I'm along for the ride.
Do you have any questions on the first one, CBG? Okay. CCG is license evaluation of administrators. As you can see from the top sheet, there's another OSBA required change. There were some slight changes just in describing the purpose of the evaluation for administrators, and that starts in line 2. The rest was very minimal. Some of it looked like just grammar and then substitution of other words, so not much change. I went and looked a little further because OSBA said it might be a good idea to review current contracts to confirm there's not any conflicting language regarding the regularity of the evaluation, and I went through that and it's all in line as well. Oh, do you have any questions on CCG? Good, thank you.
That was too easy for him.
I like,
Do we want to go through each individual one and then do a round, or do we want to do them after each individual? Does anybody have any preference, or should we just keep going?
Mass adoption will be faster. Most of these are
Copy.
purely administrative.
Okay, all right.
And Mr. Hayball couldn't be here, he had a personal issue, so I'll cover the next two policies, IGBAB, JOAR, and JOIGD. Now, they're the same changes. These were both recommended by OSBA around the updated language around directory information. So you'll see some slight wording changes. Grant wanted me to emphasize the only major substantive change is at the bottom of page 3.9. And it's in blue, and it's about the timeline, and we think this is beneficial to students where it's making sure there's time restrictions around making sure we get the paperwork to families faster around their IEPs. So we definitely think that's a good addition and will serve families better. And it's the same policy for both 8.4 and 8.5. Any questions?
I do not. Dean, any other questions on those ones? Okay. Then we move to 3.
All right, mine is the grading systems, and this one is just a pretty simple change on the second to last paragraph there. We'd like to change grading will be conducted on a 9-week basis to a trimester basis, just to reflect our current practices.
I was gonna say it's not, but, okay.
Any questions?
Mhm.
Awesome.
Moving back to you, Dr.
This next one's fine. ECB, we brought this to the policy committee because OSBA had some recommended language around appointing an individual board member to serve as a spokesperson for certain items. The committee felt that the last paragraph on the back page already covered that sufficiently. So the only change to this is deleting number 6, because as we've changed our committee policy, that's no longer very relevant. And there was one other grammatical catch on the back as well. So I think there was an R.
Oh,
missing.
an R.
So
You just barely see it. Okay.
there's that one. If there's no questions on that one, this next policy is a whole new addition that actually I brought forward. We have had administrators and parents in the last 2 years have been concerned about how we deal with head lice in our schools, and we didn't have a policy. Working with legal counsel, they actually identified Ben Lepine's policy of all policies that give really clear procedures for our principals on how we deal with lice. So that is that JHCCF, which will help us better articulate how we deal with lice for our staff as well as our parents. Next one, moving on, JFCEB. This is the current cell phone policy. That would be deleted. And then you have the new draft that's all in blue. This is our new policy that we have to put in place by January 1st.
I want to talk a little bit to this one, so this is substantially revised. But the goal of this is minimal compliance with the executive order. You'll notice that the phones have to be stored when you're in the classroom for instructional time. But a student who takes their phone with them when they leave the classroom and go somewhere else, well, whatever they do, bell to bell. And, this emphasizes that phones will be available to students in the event of an emergency. And that when we're not doing instructional time, like we're riding the bus or we're at our extracurricular waiting around for our turn to play, we don't expect the cell phone policy to be in place. This is about preserving instructional capacity. And that's all it needs to do.
It's good.
I do think we're gonna presumably vote on these shortly. I think this one needs to not go into effect immediately. We left out a step in that we did not take this to students and seek student feedback on it. And I think we should do that before it becomes final. We can adopt it tonight, but we should have a second reading on it to have students give us input between now and December. They have to be right on the side. Because this does affect their daily lives.
Now in December, meaning like before the meeting. December, okay.
Report.
This would be good
Second
for.
read and adopt them. Because we're supposed to have this thing implemented in January, that's the state timeline. We're behind on the adoption, but the implementation is January. So if we do that, we can still meet the implementation deadline and get student feedback.
Okay.
I don't think putting it on our website really is counts as student feedback.
Okay.
So again, it would be important to mention for whoever makes the motion that the policies that are being proposed to be deleted are not effective until December 31st. Otherwise, you're without any policy.
Mhm. Is it still you? Oh, no, it's Anna. It's me. Sorry, Anna.
This policy, BBFA, is regarding board member ethics. And we're proposing one change on page 5-6. Sometimes board members will use their personal credit card for the district's convenience for traveling or doing this district business. And sometimes those credit cards have some type of reward, like points or miles or something like that. And just by adding this language, it makes it allowable for a board member to use a personal credit card when it's for district convenience and receive the credit card points or miles. We have similar language in our employee policy, but it doesn't affect board members because it doesn't specifically call out board members in that policy.
Any questions on that one?
Do you want a motion?
I would love a motion, Mr. Cooper, if you're.
So, Madam Chair, I would move that we adopt policies CBG, CCG, IGBA, BJOAR, IJO, IGBA, AK, IKA, BCB, JHCCF. I'm omitting JFCEB, which is the personal cell phone, and BBFA. So all of them except the cell phone policy.
I'll second. Okay. We have a motion on the table to adopt aforementioned policies and a second, totally omitting JFCEB and JFCEB-AR. And we have a second. Do we have further discussion? Okay, let's vote. Kevin,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Kelsey,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
and yes as well. Thank you, team.
So, Madam Chairman,
Yes.
let me explain what I'm gonna do here before I do it. I'm gonna make a motion to adopt the cell phone policy. I'm then gonna vote against that motion. And the reason I'm gonna vote against it is because that will stop it from going into effect with unanimous consent tonight, and it'll force it to a second reading. And in between the first reading and the second reading, we can get student input, and then I fully intend to back it the second reading. But I'll vote against the fact. It's a weird thing, but it'll create that space for the student comment to come in.
Okay.
Otherwise, we would risk taking it to December, and then we would need a unanimous vote in order to get it in place in January.
Thank you.
And we would have to kick it to January to make it final. So this
Understood.
will allow us to stay on schedule.
Okay.
So when I vote against it, it isn't because I don't like it, it's for procedural reasons. So Madam Chair, I move to adopt JFCEB and JFCEB-AR.
Do we have a second? Okay, so we have a motion and a second to go ahead and adopt JFCEB and JFCEB-AR. Do we have further discussion? Okay, let's take a vote. Kevin,
No.
Eric,
Procedural question here. What happens if we all vote no?
Then it just doesn't go.
Then we'll have to bring something back that will.
I'll just say
meet the
yes.
requirements. That'd be-
Kelsey,
Yes.
Scott,
I was gonna vote no, but now I'm gonna vote yes, yes.
I appreciate you keeping us to us.
Just wanted to throw that.
Uno.
you voted no. You
Mhm.
voted yes.
Mhm.
You voted no.
No, I voted yes.
You voted.
Can I add one more thing for the request? Sorry. Not just feedback from the students, but also the teachers and staff.
So there's been an amendment to the motion that it's all, that it's also students.
I don't know if it's,
and
that
staff.
Wasn't part of the motion.
Okay, so I just need to vote.
Yes.
Thank you. And it, at this point, I don't think matters how I vote.
no.
So I'll vote. No,
Okay.
for procedural interpretation of the whole thing.
So,
Are we clear, Tammy? Oh, good.
good. So I don't need this answered right now, but could we just get a good sense of what the delta is between what's actually happening right now and what this will change? Like,
Yeah.
Can I just ask real quickly before we do that, did that motion just pass? Was that 3-2?
Yeah.
Okay, it'll come back for a second, but we sure.
Sorry.
That's why I'm looking at Tammy going, can you read?
Tammy's got it.
There's a chance I might change my mind.
Whoa, wild card.
So now,
The delta of what this policy does with current practice.
Yeah. We don't need to cover it today.
okay. Okay, moving to 9.0 upcoming dates. No school tomorrow, Veterans Day, November 11th. Academic Excellence Opportunities and Support Committee meeting is November 20th at 4 p.m. at the district office. No school Thanksgiving break, November 24th through the 28th. Long Range Facilities Planning Committee meeting is December 3rd at 4 o'clock at the CCMS Library. Building Bridges Committee meeting is December 4th at 4 o'clock at the district office. School Board meeting December 8th at 6:30 p.m. at the district office. No school grading day, December 12th. Policy Review Committee meeting December 15th at 4 p.m. at the district office. And no school for winter break, December 22nd through January 2nd. Moving on to 10.0 public comments. If you wish to make a public comment, please complete a comment card prior to the start of public comments. If you're viewing online, please indicate that you would like to speak in the comment section. When you're recognized, please state your name and any group you are representing. Keep your comments to no more than 4 minutes. A bell will chime when 30 seconds are remaining, and another bell will chime when the 4 minutes have ended. A group of visitors with a common purpose should designate a spokesperson for the group. If you wish to request that the board consider an agenda item, please contact the superintendent at least 1 week prior to the next board meeting. Per policy BDDH, the board will not hear comments regarding any individual district staff member. If you have a complaint about a specific staff member, please contact the superintendent or the board chair. Ms. Tammy, do we have any comment cards tonight?
Yep.
And Eric, do we have anybody online? We do not. So we do not have any public comments tonight. It is currently at 9:16 and we're going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everybody.